Chapter 2083. Fan Yin was stunned by Yi Qinghan's current appearance. His soul had almost been annihilated. Things had happened so suddenly that she was caught off guard. What's going on? He wasn't attacked. How could his soul be so severely injured? The son of war and Zhang Yingshi asked in unison. Fan Yin was terrified. She shook her head. I don't know. His soul was almost destroyed. He must have been attacked by a mysterious force. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's soul was in a daze. In his mind, there were only the 3 fingerprints. They were very clear, but they were difficult to understand. Clearly, the power derived from the Tao scripture was enough to destroy the world and suppress saints. However, his subconscious simulation could not stir up much of a storm. Slowly, although Yi Qinghan was unconscious, the blood in his body flowed in a strange way. The aura he emitted spread far and wide, causing Fan Yin, Zhang Yingshi, and the others to turn pale. What's going on? Zhang Yingshi retreated dozens of steps and asked in shock. A secret technique that transcends saints and transcends mortality. Is this the opportunity he got at the heaven worship ceremony? Fan Yin was shocked. She felt that his aura was even stronger than when he used the Taiji immortal cannon. And this was just his subconscious power. Yi Qinghan clenched the grass in his iron fist, frowning. His soul had been injured by the Tao scripture's finger technique, but now the Tao scripture had begun to heal him. His soul had become stronger, breaking through the shackles of the upper level. But his body and divine power were still at the peak of the middle level. Bang! A terrifying aura spread out from Yi Qinghan's body. It actually pushed out all the divine pets in his body. Roar! Divine bird, colorful snake, star-twining vine, god-eater eagle, they all fell to the ground in confusion. They crawled up and looked at Yi Qinghan's aura, confused. Only the little divine dragon was not pushed out. What's going on? There's a force in the boss's body that doesn't fit in with us. It seems to despise us and threw us out, the divine bird said frantically. Fan Yin, Zhang Yingshi, and the son of war were all dumbfounded. The power in Yi Qinghan's body was too pure. It was purer than the saint power, and the pressure was comparable to that of an eternal saint. They couldn't even lift their heads or approach him. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's body flew into the air. He stretched out his arms and absorbed the energy of heaven and earth. Divine light shot out in all directions and his black hair danced wildly. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. His Taoist robe fluttered in the wind, and his aura was monstrous. The power in his body was like an ocean. If it wasn't for the fact that his physical body was extremely holy, he would have been crushed by the godly power. Roar! Just then, a strange beast rushed over from the distance. It was huge, and its momentum was like a rainbow. With a wave of its claws, it crushed the mountains. It actually had the power of a saint. Its realm was almost beyond the saint realm, and it could enter the eternal realm at any time. It just lacked the recognition of heaven and earth. Oh no, it's a ferocious creature that's about to cross into the saint realm. It was attracted by the pure bloodline in little Ye's body. It wanted to devour his essence and become an eternal saint. Zhang Yingshi and Fan Yin exclaimed at the same time. Take Brother Yi away. Let's escape. We can't beat this existence that is about to enter the saint realm. I'm afraid its combat power has surpassed that of the Blue Emperor Wan, the son of war said in a panic. But Yi Qinghan's aura was too strong at this moment. Who could get close to him? Fan Yin couldn't, Zhang Yingshi couldn't, and it was even more impossible for the son of war. At this time, even the divine bird couldn't get close to him. The star-twining vine, the multicolored snake, and the god-eater eagle couldn't do it either. Stop it. Wait for little Yi to wake up. Fan Yin's Taoist robe was activated. He took the lead and blocked in front, unwilling to leave. Zhang Yingshi's face was pale. He knew that he was going to die, but he still didn't escape. The son of war's cultivation was the weakest, but he didn't choose to escape. Instead, he resolutely flashed his scimitar. The battle intent on his body was monstrous. The battle intent of the Zhan family was more terrifying than anyone else's. The saint battle technique caused the surrounding light to tear the void and intertwine. The visual impact was stronger than Zhang Yingshi's eruption of power. Roar! The mutated beast sped over from afar. It was extremely fast. When it opened its bloody mouth, the angry roar caused the powerful flying beasts to fall to the ground. They didn't dare to make the slightest movement. At that moment, Yi Qinghan's right hand made a strange gesture. His fingers circled and formed a saint seal. The boundless spiritual qi in the sky twisted and formed a finger seal. It tore through the void and headed straight for the ferocious creature that was about to become a saint. Boom! Hua hua hua! In an instant, the sky and earth cracked. Space collapsed. The finger seal tore through the 9 heavens and pressed down on the mutated beast. The mutated beast roared at the sky and used all its strength to slap the giant finger seal in the sky. Boom! A surge of energy rushed to the stars, but it couldn't destroy the finger seal. The finger seal was as strong as a rainbow. It pierced through the forelimbs of the mutated beast that was about to enter the saint realm. It ruthlessly broke through its defenses and finally pressed down on the mutated beast's head. Roar! The mutated beast screamed. Mountains and rivers collapsed, and the earth sank. Tens of thousands of miles of mountains and forests were razed to the ground. The mutated beast's powerful body turned into a bloody mist. Its flesh was torn apart, and its bones were broken. It was like a kite with its string cut. Bang! The mutated beast's corpse flew back 3,000 meters, and the earth sank several thousand meters. It was like an endless abyss. The power of this finger was comparable to that of a saint. Even a mutated beast that was about to enter the saint realm was crushed by this finger. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's body was no longer glowing. His divine power had been sucked dry. His body fell from the sky without a trace of consciousness. The pressure dissipated. Fan Yin, Zhang Yingshi, and the son of war were completely stunned. Their bodies were cold, and their eyes were full of fear. They looked at the mountains and rivers that had been shattered by this finger seal. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The star-twisting vine extended dozens of vines to wrap around the falling Yi Qinghan and safely placed him on the ground. Hiss hiss. The 3 of them took a deep breath. Their faces were horrified. They didn't expect Yi Qinghan, who was only at the peak of the middle saint realm, to have the power of a saint. What kind of secret technique was this? Whoosh. Fan Yin quickly rushed in front of Yi Qinghan and placed her jade-like fingers on his wrist. She found that his divine body was rapidly absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. His soul had also returned to normal. She finally heaved a sigh of relief. What a powerful finger technique. A single finger can destroy a saint. Such a forbidden technique is comparable to that of a saint, the son of war said in shock. Fan Yin looked at the 2 of them with a serious expression. She pleaded in a low voice, "My 2 friends, please keep what happened today a secret. Don't tell anyone. Only the 3 of us know. Otherwise, little Yi will definitely die." Zhang Yingshi and the son of war nodded repeatedly. The divine bird looked at Yi Qinghan's pale face and wailed in grief, "Boss, you can't die. If you let a white-haired person like me send a black-haired person like you off, who can protect me?" "Shut up. He's fine." Fan Yin reprimanded in annoyance. The divine bird was still very worried. It hurriedly took out a few pieces of heavenly sacred stones and placed them in Yi Qinghan's hands. Yi Qinghan held the heavenly sacred stones. In the blink of an eye, the heavenly sacred stones were emptied of their spiritual energy and turned into dust. They couldn't tell how much power Yi Qinghan had in his body. After a while, his Upper Saint Realm soul pulled on his divine power and tried to break through the Upper Saint Realm bottleneck. Chapter 2084. Yi Qinghan's divine dragon bloodline was too high, so he activated the heaven-imprisoning Tao scripture. Although it was only one page, it had the power to kill a divine dragon. At this moment, his soul benefited from the heaven-imprisoning Tao scripture and broke through to the upper level, but his physical body and strength remained at the peak of the middle level. At this moment, he was trying his best to absorb the celestial sacred stone and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. A vortex of the 8 trigrams formed in the sky. Endless spiritual energy gathered in front of his chest and quickly turned into pure energy that flowed through his limbs and bones. His body quickly filled up and then slowly began to break through the bottleneck. Terrifying divine power surged, as vast as the ocean. The bottleneck was like a shore, as firm as a rock. It did not budge under the boundless power. Yi Qinghan was already awake when his divine power recovered. At this moment, he was full of energy. His blood and chi surged and turned into a violent blade that slashed at the bottleneck. Boom! Slash after slash on the bottleneck had no effect at all. The bottleneck of the upper level was so firm. Of course, not all upper-level cultivators in the world had such a bottleneck. For existences like Yi Qinghan, Fan Yin, and Xia Jiulong, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens for them to break through to the upper level. However, once they did, those veteran upper-level cultivators were no match for them. Even existences like Zhang Yingshi could not contend against them. The bottleneck seemed to be protected by an immortal technique. The mysterious light flowed in reverse. Any attack was ineffective against the bottleneck. Yi Qinghan's brows twitched slightly. He secretly said, "Why is the bottleneck like this?" Yi Qinghan opened his disdainful eyes. The light in his eyes was brighter than the stars. His temperament was otherworldly. It was as if he was no longer a mortal. He was completely reborn, just like the immortals in the legends. Hiss! Fan Yin and Zhang Yingshi gasped. The moment Yi Qinghan opened his eyes, they felt as if their hearts were about to explode. It's over. I've fallen. Fan Yin and Zhang Yingshi's hearts were in a mess. They quickly avoided Yi Qinghan's disdainful eyes and pretended to think. The Son of War only felt that Yi Qinghan had become stronger and more terrifying. He did not feel that this temperament would attract him. After all, his sexual orientation was completely normal. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan stood up and flipped his palm. His divine sense wandered around his body. He had no idea what he had experienced. What happened just now? Yi Qinghan looked at the three of them and asked with an innocent expression. The Son of War took a deep breath, stared at Yi Qinghan, and asked in shock, "You don't know what you've done?" Yi Qinghan scratched his head and furrowed his brows. He couldn't help but feel that what had just happened was like a dream. You destroyed a ferocious being that was on the verge of becoming a saint with a single finger. Even its corpse was crushed by you. What sorcery are you using? Fan Yin stared at Yi Qinghan and asked. Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank. He looked at Fan Yin in shock. He felt that she was not joking. Only then did he confirm that the movement of his finger was not an illusion or a dream. It was real. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes. He felt the movement of the divine power and the hand seals of the sacred finger of annihilation. He realized that if he moved a little, the sacred finger of annihilation would immediately drain his power. The immortal technique of the heaven-imprisoning Taoist scripture. Yi Qinghan roared. He did not expect a single page of the Taoist scripture to be so powerful. Zhang Yingshi looked at Yi Qinghan's ignorant face. He tugged at his sleeve and pointed into the distance. Look at your masterpiece. The earth had sunk thousands of miles, forming a bottomless abyss. The mountains were flattened. Yi Qinghan looked at his masterpiece. He suddenly realized that he knew nothing about power. Was it really caused by my finger? Yi Qinghan touched his finger and muttered to himself in shock. Just then, the divine bird pounced over and cried sadly. "Boss, I thought you didn't want me anymore. I can't even enter your bloodline now. What kind of demonic technique are you cultivating?" Yi Qinghan waved his hand to catch the divine bird. He was a little confused. He took the initiative to take the divine pet into his body. His divine sense wandered in his sea of consciousness. He found that the little divine dragon had actually fallen asleep in the heaven-imprisoning Taoist scripture. The heaven-imprisoning Taoist scripture was still the same. The profound laws spread out. Ripples of light sparkled and immortal qi lingered. Yi Qinghan thought for a moment. His 10 fingers slowly formed the hand seal. He mobilized the power of the mountains and rivers. The spirit qi in the mystic realm quickly gathered in front of his chest. The first move of the sacred finger of annihilation. Whoosh! Boom! The finger could move mountains and overturn seas, and its aura could soar into the galaxy. It flattened several mountain ranges in front of it as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. The earth collapsed, but its might was far inferior to what he could release unconsciously. Even so, an upper-level cultivator would not be able to be killed by this finger. Using 50% of my power and borrowing the power of the outside world to cause such damage. It can indeed be considered an immortal technique. Yi Qinghan muttered to himself. He was still a middle-level cultivator. Killing an upper-level cultivator with a finger was shocking enough. A powerful upper-level cultivator's soul scanned the surroundings and controlled thousands of miles. The advancement of his soul caused a qualitative change in his speed. His speed increased by at least 3 to 5 times. Yi Qinghan disappeared in front of the 3 in the blink of an eye. He was far faster than Fan Yin. Even Zhang Yingshi's peak speed might not be comparable. Whoosh! After a moment, Yi Qinghan returned to his original spot. He was extremely excited. Ha ha ha. With my current strength, even Xia Jiulong's peak combat power won't be a threat to me. Even if he has the holy dragon robe, I can still beat him. Yi Qinghan laughed. Xia Jiulong was going to give up his position as the strongest of the younger generation. However, he did not know that once Yi Qinghan was born, Xia Jiulong would hate him. Smack! Just as Yi Qinghan was getting excited, Fan Yin slapped him on the back of the head. You'd better wake up. Once your strength is exposed, you're already half a step into the coffin. When your profound finger seal is exposed, you'll be hunted down by the eternal saint himself, Fan Yin scolded him impolitely. Yi Qinghan sniffled. He had no words to refute. I'll keep a low profile. You guys, help me keep this a secret. Yi Qinghan smiled sheepishly. Fan Yin snorted. Keep a secret? You bastard. How dare you lie to me? You dare say that you didn't get the sacred finger seal from the heavens during the worship of the heavens ceremony? How did you answer me when I asked you what you got? Bang! Fan Yin stretched out her jade-like leg and kicked Yi Qinghan's thigh. Yi Qinghan smiled sheepishly and patted the dust off with a wry smile. How dare you lie to me? To think that I was so considerate of you. Fan Yin roared angrily. The son of war and Zhang Yingshi both smiled and turned away, leaving the two to argue. Yi Qinghan reached out to Fan Yin and comforted her. Senior sister, it's not that I don't want to tell you, but this is no small matter. I don't dare to say it. Fan Yin pushed Yi Qinghan away and asked angrily, then tell me, did you get the sacred finger seal? Or do you have other secret techniques? Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and replied helplessly, this is only one of the finger techniques in the celestial arts. However, I can't see the other secret techniques. The saint-destroying finger was only triggered by the little holy dragon by chance. Chapter 2085. Fan Yin was a little jealous and angry that Yi Qinghan hid the truth from her and did not believe her. Thinking about it carefully, this kind of thing could not be told to outsiders. If the son of war and Zhang Yingshi let it slip, Yi Qinghan would be dead for sure. Yi Qinghan comforted her repeatedly, and she finally calmed down. "This is a warning to you. If you dare to lie to me again, I'll beat you to death," Fan Yin said coquettishly as she kicked Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan grimaced. Although it did not hurt, he still cooperated with her. "Bastard!" Fan Yin snorted and turned to go deeper. Yi Qinghan smiled and stepped into the abyss he created. He could still feel the terrifying aura coming from the Saint Destroyer finger. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes and felt the terrifying aura. He tried to understand the finger technique, but he did not dare to use it. The slightest movement would drain all the energy in his body. The Saint Destroyer finger was not to be used before he reached the Saint realm. Its destructive power was too great and unimaginable. The most terrifying thing was that it consumed an unimaginable amount of energy. Even his holy golden body could not withstand the Saint Destroyer finger's energy consumption. When I reach the Saint realm, will I be able to kill a saint with one finger and be comparable to a great saint? Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and absorbed the aftershocks of the Saint Destroyer finger. He recalled the three-finger techniques of the Saint Destroyer finger, each more terrifying than the last. It is indeed a blessing from the heavens. I just don't know the difference between the Saint Destroyer finger and the Great Saint technique. Which one is better? Yi Qinghan did not see the Great Saint attack, so he could not estimate the Great Saint's strength. However, the Heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage cut off all the death chi of the Nine Serenities Master with a casual slash. Such a celestial technique was already extraordinary. In his sea of consciousness, the little divine dragon coiled around the heaven-imprisoning Taoist scripture and relied on Yi Qinghan's divine power to grow. Yi Qinghan always felt that the power in his body was disappearing into thin air, but his body was involuntarily absorbing thick spiritual energy from the outside world, transforming it into pure saint power. The golden body of Absolute Saint and the secret realm formed a great circle. Heaven and earth were the golden body, and the golden body was also the golden body. With every step he took, Yi Qinghan felt his strength increasing. Coincidentally, the spirit chi in this mystic realm was overflowing, which was enough for him to recover. No wonder I can't break through the shackles. Is it because my strength hasn't reached the limit of my peers? Yi Qinghan muttered to himself. With his strength, even if he didn't use the sacred annihilation finger, he could still kill an upper plane cultivator and destroy a Xian cultivator. At the very least, he could stand on equal footing with Xia Jiulong. Once he used the sacred annihilation finger, he could instantly destroy Xia Jiulong's invincible legend. As Yi Qinghan's strength increased, the four of them charged towards the sacred medicine without any fear. The four of them worked together and swept through mountain after mountain, snatching the sacred fruits. Every sacred fruit was priceless. Outside the secret realm, the ferocious beasts fled. They were no match for Yi Qinghan's attack. Yi Qinghan wielded his saber and ran amok. The third seal had been broken, and now he could use it with ease, unleashing even more strength. At this time, as long as they didn't encounter any ferocious beasts that were about to cross into the Saint Plane, Yi Qinghan and the others could do whatever they wanted. The sacred annihilation finger that Yi Qinghan used now was definitely not on par with the sacred annihilation finger from before, so ferocious beasts that were about to cross into the Saint Plane could definitely kill them. A few days later, the four of them occupied a mountain range. The mountain was filled with sacred fruits, all of which were excellent sacred products. To Yi Qinghan, these sacred fruits were the best sacred products for brewing wine. Once they were brewed into immortal wine, it would definitely be more valuable than drunken immortal wine. Yi Qinghan didn't stand on ceremony and transplanted these fruit trees into his storage ring. He specially used hundreds of celestial sacred stones to feed the fruit trees, causing the spiritual energy in the storage ring to surge to the sky. It was almost condensed into a physical substance, and it started to rain. While Yi Qinghan and the others were training in the secret realm, Xia Jiulong and the others were still waiting in the Eternal Palace. The more they waited, the more anxious they became. Xia Jiulong lay on the bridge and took a deep breath. He was tired from waiting. Divine General Luo Fei had always been calm, but at this moment, he was furious. He had set up such a huge formation, but Yi Qinghan still hadn't arrived. Luo Fei found Xia Jiulong and said in a deep voice, "Your Highness, we can't keep waiting like this. Who knows if Yi Qinghan has returned or entered the secret realm? If they return, won't we be waiting for death?" Whoosh! Xia Jiulong reached out and grabbed the sacred blood plasma. He flew down from the bridge with a gloomy face and clenched his fists. He said in a deep voice, "Enter the secret realm. I believe they are in the secret realm. Even if they don't enter the secret realm, we have to enter the secret realm to search for treasures and make up for our mistakes. What if Yi Qinghan comes out of the secret realm and misses us? Won't we miss out on a good opportunity?" Luo Fei asked in a deep voice. Xia Jiulong was silent for a while before replying, "Take the other 9 divine generals and 20 upper-level bounty hunters and wait at the entrance of the secret realm. I will take the rest of the people into search. As long as Yi Qinghan is in the secret realm, we have to kill them on Coiling Dragon Island." Luo Fei said proudly, "Take the rest of the people with you. Your safety is the most important. The 9 divine generals will be enough to kill them." Xia Jiulong looked at Luo Fei and nodded. "Then I'll have to trouble you, divine general. There's no time to lose. Let's move out now." Luo Fei walked out of the hall. He couldn't even be bothered to search the Eternal Palace. Xia Jiulong took everyone and rushed to the entrance. Half a month later, he arrived at the entrance. When he saw the thorns that had been cut off, he became even more certain. Yi Qinghan and company must have entered the secret realm. Luo Fei said in a deep voice. Xia Jiulong sneered and said in a sinister voice, "Since you have entered, don't think of leaving alive. The 9 divine generals will stay with me outside the secret realm. The rest of you, enter the secret realm for your highness. Anyone who kills Yi Qinghan will be rewarded with a large city and 100 million strands of wealth on behalf of the Holy Empire." Luo Fei said in a deep voice. Xia Jiulong's sacred dragon robe augmented his golden body. He looked down at everyone and said in a deep voice, "Divine General Luo Fei understands my intentions. Divine General Luo Fei will definitely fulfill his promise. I will also promise that as long as I don't fall, the city will not be destroyed. Everyone will have a death exemption medallion that will protect you for life. Thank you, Your Highness." "Thank you, Divine General Luo Fei." The experts bowed. "Follow me into the secret realm." Xia Jiulong waved his hand and brought more than 80 bounty hunters with him. They opened the secret realm's entrance and charged in. As soon as they entered the secret realm, they were stunned by the density of the spirit qi here. The fertile soil around them seemed to have been moved by someone. Furthermore, the area was not small. Soon, they knew that Yi Qinghan had obtained a treasure from this place. Xia Jiulong squatted down and touched the moved soil. He snorted and said, "It hasn't been long since we left. Let's go deeper." Whoosh! Xia Jiulong and Xian Xiu led a large group of bounty hunters deeper into the secret realm. They found that there were no sacred herbs or treasures nearby. They flew faster and faster. After flying for about 10 days, they didn't encounter a single ferocious creature. It wasn't until they sensed a shocking aura in this abyss that they discovered the corpse of a ferocious creature that was about to be conferred the title of saint that even Xia Jiulong was incomparably shocked. "There's an eternal saint here!" Xia Jiulong cried out. Chapter 2086. Whether it was an eternal saint or an eternal level monster, it didn't matter which one it was. At this moment, even Xia Jiulong and Xian Xiu's expressions changed, let alone the bounty hunters. A trace of fear appeared in their eyes. This kind of combat power could kill 100 experts in one strike. Let's retreat. Some of the bounty hunters wanted to retreat and said in horror. Xian Xiu was also furious. He pressed on the ground, which was still emitting a terrifying aura. It was very dense and the soil was fresh. He said in shock, from the looks of it, this deep pit should have been created recently. It's at least 3,000 miles away. Is that existence nearby? Maybe Yi Qinghan and the others were also blown to smithereens by this attack. Your Highness, should we retreat? Another bounty hunter suggested. No one dared to go any deeper. The experts looked at each other, hoping to leave this damned place immediately. Xia Jiulong naturally hoped that Yi Qinghan had been blown to smithereens by this attack, but he couldn't be sure. How could he report back? If he told the Cloud Dragon Sage that Yi Qinghan was dead, who could bear the responsibility if Yi Qinghan appeared again? If he lied to an eternal saint, the Crown Prince would not be able to escape death. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Xia Jiulong hesitated. If they continued to go deeper and encountered an existence with great fortune, they wouldn't even be able to withstand a single slap. Everyone was silent for a long time. Xia Jiulong still didn't dare to report back because the Holy Empire's Holy Emperor was about to come out of seclusion. If they didn't use this time to kill Yi Qinghan and take back Yi Qinghan's Taoist robe, how could they fight for a chance to survive? Crack. Xia Jiulong clenched his iron fists and narrowed his eyes. Everyone, search every corner of this deep pit. If you find the Yinyang 8 trigrams Taoist robe and 7-foot maniac, we will retreat. If you can't find them, this mission must continue. Cluck cluck cluck, many people were so scared that their teeth chattered, but no one dared to disobey Xia Jiulong. They could only spread out to search for the robe and 7-foot maniac. The more he searched, the more he could see the extent of the abyss. The more terrified he was of the power of the eternal saints, the more he did not dare to go deeper. After searching for more than 10 days, nearly 100 people finally gathered again. Everyone returned empty-handed, and their faces were deathly pale, including Xia Jiulong. Ho ho ho. Everyone's breathing quickened as they shook their heads, indicating that they had not found the target. It's impossible for an eternal saint to destroy the Taoist robe and berserker. Without these two things, Yi Qinghan might still be alive. Let's go deeper. As for my previous promise, I'll double it. As long as I become a saint, I'll definitely guide you and try my best to cultivate you into an eternal saint. As the saying goes, one can't become rich without a windfall. Do you want to stay in the upper level forever? Xia Jiulong said in a deep voice. Great rewards would attract brave men. Who wouldn't want to be appreciated by an eternal saint? The difference between an upper-level saint and an eternal saint was only one level, but the difference in combat power was like the difference between heaven and earth. Just like the difference between a mortal and a cultivator, it disappeared in an instant. Xian Xiu swears loyalty to your highness. Xian Xiu saw that everyone was a little hesitant, so he took the initiative to express his stance, hoping to resonate with everyone. When Xian Xiu was born, many bounty hunters were lonely. They hoped to reach a higher level, so they all spoke up to support Xia Jiulong. At least half of the experts chose to follow Xia Jiulong. Even if the remaining bounty hunters were afraid of death, they did not dare to retreat at this moment. They were afraid that Xia Jiulong would fly into a rage out of humiliation and kill them first, so they could only suppress their shock and choose to follow Xia Jiulong. Xia Jiulong saw that everyone was willing to follow him and nodded in satisfaction. He smiled and said, "You didn't let me down. I won't let you down." "Thank you, Your Highness," everyone said excitedly. Everyone was blinded by greed, but they did not know that being with a ruler was like being with a tiger. A ruler's heart was unpredictable and he was good at burning bridges after crossing the river. Let's continue. Xia Jiulong waved his hand and led everyone out of the abyss. They continued to go deeper, following Yi Qinghan's path and getting closer. Yi Qinghan and the others weren't slow. However, Yi Qinghan was the type of person who would take advantage of every opportunity to search for treasures. His storage rings were filled with treasures that he had plundered, so they wasted quite a bit of time. Fan Yin, Zhang Yingshi, and the Son of Battle finally understood. Yi Qinghan did not mind if the spirit herbs were too weak. As long as they could be used by a sector lord, he would not give them up. The places he went would not be able to recover without 100,000 years. At this moment, Xia Jiulong was looking at Yi Qinghan's path and was a little angry. This method of taking advantage of every opportunity made the secret realm too miserable. It was not much better than the sealed sky prison. The distance between the two parties was getting closer and closer. Xia Jiulong did not notice, but Yi Qinghan, who was in front, felt that someone was following them. His powerful soul spirit covered thousands of miles and kept spreading outwards. The more he looked behind, the more he felt that something was wrong. Yi Qinghan opened his eyes. He looked behind and was a little worried. He said to the other three, "Wait for me here for a while. I will go back and take a look." Whoosh! Yi Qinghan turned into a bolt of lightning and was much faster than Fan Yin. Even Zhang Yingshi, with his cultivation level, did not notice how Yi Qinghan left. An hour later, Yi Qinghan arrived at a mountain peak. He stood at the top of the mountain and looked into the distance. He saw Xia Jiulong leading close to 100 experts and speeding ahead. They all held weapons and were 3 to 5 miles apart. Their divine senses could cover each other, and they were all searching for something. Yi Qinghan rubbed his nose and muttered, "You guys are really haunting me. So many Bloodstrike guards have died, but you still don't give up. Xia Jiulong, how much do you hate me? Do you have to kill me to be at ease?" The two parties were still a few hundred miles apart. Yi Qinghan only used his upper realm divine sense to observe this group of people. After confirming that it was this group, he slowly retreated. Is there any good way to kill them all without using the Saint Destroyer finger? Yi Qinghan asked calmly. If you kill Xia Jiulong at this time, you will completely fall out with the Cloud Dragon Sage. At that time, it won't just be Crown Prince Xia Jiulong who will deal with you, but the Cloud Dragon Sage himself. Why don't you let him live and kill everyone else? The divine bird reminded. Yi Qinghan nodded and agreed. Before I break through to the Saint Realm, Xia Jiulong cannot die. Dealing with a middle or upper realm Xia Jiulong is much safer than dealing with the Cloud Dragon Sage. Actually, we don't even need to do anything to kill dozens of bounty hunters in this huge danger zone. We just need to lure them into the nest of some ferocious beasts and kill 3 to 5 at a time. They will all be dead in a few months, the divine bird said calmly. Yi Qinghan was speechless. We'll do it your way. We'll wait for them and lead them into the ditch. I have all the time in the world, Yi Qinghan said with an evil smile. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan quickly retreated. Half an hour later, he quietly appeared in front of the Son of War and the others and said calmly, Xia Jiulong and the bounty hunters are behind us. Let's wait for them. Fan Yin, Zhang Yingshi, and the others could not help but observe a moment of silence for Xia Jiulong. The Yi Qinghan of today was no longer the Yi Qinghan of the past. If they killed this time, rivers of blood would flow. Chapter 2087. The Son of War had an awkward expression as he smiled bitterly. Do you really want to kill Xia Jiulong? There was no doubt that if Yi Qinghan wanted to kill Xia Jiulong, it wouldn't take much effort. However, Xia Jiulong's identity was no small matter. The Holy Empire could execute him, but even a saint would have to pay the price in blood. They might even be suppressed forever. The Son of War couldn't help but remind Yi Qinghan that Xia Jiulong really couldn't be killed. Yi Qinghan smiled and said, "Kill him." "Why kill him? I still have to protect him out of the coiling dragon's secret realm. He can't die for the time being, or I'll have to face the Cloud Dragon Sage." "Then why are we waiting for them? Can't we just leave their sight?" Zhang Yingshi asked helplessly. He really didn't want to get involved in the grudge between Yi Qinghan and Xia Jiulong. Yi Qinghan shrugged and said indifferently, "We'll teach him a lesson. Kill everyone around him, but we won't do anything. We'll lead them to a dead end and let the beasts kill everyone around him." The son of war was speechless. Offending Yi Qinghan really wasn't a good thing. Zhang Yingshi was the first to know Yi Qinghan. He understood his vengeful personality very well. He knew that Xia Jiulong wouldn't have a good ending if he chased after them, so he could only sigh. Xia Jiulong was a legend back in the day. No one in the younger generation could contend against him. No one could shake his position as the number one. Now that Yi Qinghan had appeared, if he was defeated by Yi Qinghan in a big occasion, Xia Jiulong's legend would instantly be shattered. Xia Jiulong's Dao heart would probably shatter. The four of them waited for about 6 hours before Xia Jiulong chased after them with a group of people. However, Yi Qinghan's divine sense was extremely powerful, and his soul had already reached the upper level. He was far stronger than those bounty hunters, so he sensed their arrival in advance and left ahead of time. However, he left a huge mark on Xia Jiulong's group. A bonfire that hadn't been extinguished. Xia Jiulong was in a good mood when he chased after the bonfire with a group of experts. "Ha ha ha, I've finally found your tracks. The fire hasn't been extinguished yet, so you should be nearby. Chase after them." Xia Jiulong's aura surged with boundless heroism. His figure shot straight into the clouds and searched in the air. He found that the resources in the northwest had all been emptied. Yi Qinghan must have passed by. Head towards the northwest. Increase your speed and restrain your aura. Surround them and kill Yi Qinghan first. If anyone else dares to participate in the battle, kill them all. Xia Jiulong said forcefully. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Nearly 100 upper-level experts transformed into lightning bolts and pounced towards the northwest. The more they chased, the faster they became. However, they did not know that what awaited them ahead was death. Ahead, 3,000 li away, was the Purple Cloud Mountain Range. Ferocious beasts roamed freely within the mountain range. Flying beasts soared into the sky, breaking the Milky Way. Roar. Screech. The birds and beasts fought each other, dyeing the sky red. They fought until the heavens collapsed and the earth split, the mountains and rivers changed color. Yi Qinghan retracted his aura, and a wisp of the sacred dragon's aura enveloped the three of them, concealing their human aura. They stood on a mountain peak and waited for Xia Jiulong to arrive. The powerful sacred dragon's aura carried with it surging upper-level aura. Even if there were birds that saw the four of them, they would not dare to approach. Yi Qinghan's soul wrapped around the little sacred dragon, and his aura became one with it. His divine sense covered 8,000 miles. Xia Jiulong was getting closer and closer to the mountain range. Although there were many ferocious beasts in the valley, they were all fighting for themselves. He did not care at all. Hence, he brought nearly 100 experts and charged straight into the mountain range. The mountain range stretched endlessly. Xia Jiulong's sacred dragon robe exuded a surging aura. With a gentle movement of his 9-dragon fan, he shook the heavenly river. His disdainful eyes looked down on all living beings as he stepped into the depths of the mountain range. Yi Qinghan watched as they entered. His aura changed instantly, and the sacred dragon's aura surged into the clouds. Roar. Roar. Yi Qinghan transformed into a sacred dragon and roamed the Purple Cloud Mountain Range. His roar caused the clouds to disperse. This sacred dragon orders all beasts to kill all humans who trespass into the Purple Cloud Mountain Range. Those who dare to defy this sacred dragon's will be killed without mercy. The terrifying sacred dragon's aura surged into the heavenly river and swept out in all directions. Roar! Screech! Countless ferocious beasts soared into the sky. Regardless of whether they were intelligent sacred beasts or unintelligent ferocious beasts, they were all affected by the sacred dragon's aura and charged toward Xia Zhilong and the others. Boom boom boom. Tens of thousands of ferocious beasts charged toward them from all directions. Xia Zhilong's expression changed, and he roared, "Go back the way you came from. Charge back with all your might. Protect the crown prince and kill our way out." Xian Xiu roared. Many bounty hunters glanced at the sacred dragon from the corner of their eyes. How could they be willing to protect Xia Zhilong? If they died here, so what if Xia Zhilong's status was high? Fuck you. Protect your grandpa. Swish swish swish. Swish swish swish. Dozens of great experts fought their own battles. Sabers and swords swept in all directions, killing countless weaker ferocious beasts. Corpses littered the ground, and blood flowed like a river as they fled toward the outside. However, more and more ferocious beasts and sacred beasts charged over. They smashed the mountain range and tore the ancient trees apart with their fangs. Ah! A mournful scream announced the death of an upper-level expert. More and more high-level ferocious beasts and sacred beasts joined the battle, killing their way into the group of bounty hunters. 3 to 100 ferocious beasts surrounded a single human, and in an instant, the experts were all defeated, suffering heavy casualties. Experts fell one after another, and the bounty hunters fought with all their might. Their eyes were red from the killing, and they charged toward the outside without regard for their lives. At this time, there was no one to protect Xia Zhilong. Xian Xiu was the only one who could protect his master. However, he could not withstand the attacks of so many ferocious beasts. In a short period of time, his battle robe was stained with blood. Xia Zhilong roared and waved his hand to summon 9 divine dragons. The sacred dragon robe also erupted with a divine aura, crushing all the beasts and forcing the low-level ferocious beasts to flee. Swoosh swoosh swoosh, Xia Zhilong could not be bothered with the others, but he could not ignore Xian Xiu. Hence, he reached out and grabbed Xian Xiu, then charged into the sky. The sacred dragon robe and the golden body did not dare to come close, and they quickly rushed out of the mountain range. Roar! Furious roars rang out as the torrent of beasts crushed the mountain rocks. Some experts could not escape in time, and their bodies were directly crushed. Even their souls were crushed into powder. There were dozens of upper-level experts, but in the face of the ferocious beasts in the entire mountain range, they were quickly drowned out, and the experts' souls were turned into ashes. Yi Qinghan slowly returned to his original form, and his aura was restrained. He rushed back to the mountain peak and looked at the chaos in the mountain range. Organs and flesh were scattered everywhere, and blood flowed like a tide. However, his expression did not change. He watched as Xia Zhilong escaped with Xian Xiu, and he did not think of killing the two of them. Sigh, Zhang Yingshi sighed and said, "Poor Xia Zhilong. Why did he provoke someone like you?" Fan Yin said unhappily, "This idiot has never suffered a loss. Today, I'll teach him a lesson. Let's see how arrogant he can be in the future." Yi Qinghan smiled and said, "Let's go. When the beasts wake up and can't find the sacred dragon, it will be our turn to be attacked." Chapter 2088. Yi Qinghan and the other 3 left the Purple Cloud Mountain range. There were still dozens of bounty hunters in the valley, but in the blink of an eye, there were only a few left. They were still fighting to the death. Blood flowed like rivers between the mountain ranges, dyeing the ground red. Corpses piled up like mountains, spreading for thousands of miles. Countless ferocious creatures were slaughtered. The bounty hunters were definitely not weak, and the lethality of a trapped beast struggle was not to be underestimated. A trapped beast was still a trapped beast. In a situation where there were ferocious creatures everywhere, even if Xia Jiulong did not run, he would be dead for sure, let alone these dozens of bounty hunters. Xia Jiulong's dragon might was too strong. With the protection of the holy dragon robe, he escaped with Xian Xiu. They ran for 30,000 miles, and his eyes were about to spit fire. He landed in a valley, panting, and roared in despair. Heavens, are you going against me as well? Why did you give me the imprint, but not the corresponding fate? Why are you always biased towards Yi Qinghan? Xia Jiulong roared. Even now, he did not know that the holy dragon was Yi Qinghan's transformation. Xian Xiu sighed helplessly and said in despair, Your Highness, there are only 2 of us left. There are 4 of them, and they are not weak. It seems that this mission cannot be carried out in this mystic realm. Why don't we retreat and wait for them at the exit? Xia Jiulong was silent for a long time. A wisp of an imprint echoed in his mind. It was an unprecedented imprint, the immortal sealing imprint. Although Xia Jiulong did not know what this imprint was for, he knew that it could kill people, and it could kill existences stronger than him. We can still kill Yi Qinghan without relying on that bunch of trash, Xia Jiulong said gloomily. Help me stall Zhang Yingshi. I will kill Yi Qinghan. Your Highness, safety is the most important. There is no need to risk your life for Yi Qinghan's lowly life. Xian Xiu advised earnestly. Xia Jiulong looked at Xian Xiu coldly and asked, Do you think I'm afraid of death? Or are you afraid of death? Xian Xiu hurriedly replied respectfully, Your Highness, you've misunderstood me. I'm not afraid of death, and you definitely aren't afraid of death either. However, I'm afraid that something will happen to you. Your body is priceless, and Yi Qinghan can't compare to it. Your Highness, please reconsider. In any case, Yi Qinghan has to leave the mystic realm. There's no need for you to take the risk with him. Xia Jiulong snorted coldly. This emperor doesn't want him to live a moment longer. Xian Xiu smiled bitterly. Your Highness, there's no need to be so calculative with an ant. Let him live for another 3 to 5 months and search for more treasures for your Highness. This can be considered as letting him show off his last bit of light and warmth. Xia Jiulong was silent for a long time. He clenched his iron fists and looked at the purple cloud mountain range behind him. He recalled the abyss from before and was also afraid of encountering an eternal existence. Finally, he took a deep breath and nodded. Xian Xiu, this emperor knows of your loyalty and that you're doing this for my own good. Forget it. I'll listen to you this time. Let's return to the mystic realm and wait for him. Xian Xiu was overjoyed. He quickly bowed and said, Thank you for your understanding, Your Highness. Your Highness understands my painstaking efforts. I have no regrets even if I die. The 2 of them left. Yi Qinghan and the others also left the Purple Cloud Mountain range. So many bounty hunters had remained in the Purple Cloud Mountain range. None of them had escaped. They had all died. The 4 of them sped through the mountains with smiles on their faces. They traversed the mountains and plains, saw the ancient vicissitudes of the mountains and rivers, and searched thousands of miles for treasures. The vast world of the past had no traces of humans. The palaces had also decayed and scattered with the wind. Some were buried deep in the mountains and could not be found. Hundreds of birds chirped softly, accompanied by the light wind that slowly flowed through the sky. After traveling for 4 months, they arrived at a large plain area. Thick thorns were even larger than ancient trees. Countless vines intertwined and blotted out the sky. This should be the human world of the past. After so many years, even the palaces and cities have been surrounded by weeds and have decayed. Zhang Yingshi looked at the endless mountains and rivers and sighed. How can there be eternity in this world? It will all be eroded by time and disappear. Fan Yin and the son of combat fell silent. They could not refute Zhang Yingshi. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly and replied, Time is eternal. Whether we are here or not, time will always pass. I don't feel tired. Space could collapse, mountains and rivers could be eroded, and the world could be destroyed. Only time would not change. The heavenly Tao in the firmament was replacing it. Time would not be destroyed. The three of them were stunned as they pondered Yi Qinghan's words. Yi Qinghan said firmly, I believe that it is possible to achieve true eternity. Of course, it is not the current eternal saints. Eternal saints can be killed. At the very least, I have seen the corpses of eternal saints. Zhang Yingshi was silent. She had also seen the corpses in the underground palace, so she did not believe in eternity. The son of war and Fan Yin had not seen the corpses of eternal saints, but it did not mean that they did not know that eternal saints could be killed. Therefore, when they heard Yi Qinghan's words, they did not show much emotion. Tell me, under what circumstances can one achieve eternity? Zhang Yingshi stared at Yi Qinghan and asked. Yi Qinghan was silent for a while before replying, since time can be eternal, I believe that as long as one can create time, one can achieve eternity. I suspect that the eternal saint realm is the true eternity. He thought about how the heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage could kill death with a wave of his hand, reverse reincarnation, and give the 9 Serenities Master countless years of time. If such an existence was not eternal, then who was? Although the four of them did not discuss the Tao strictly, the fact that they dared to propose their own theories was an improvement. At the very least, they had set a goal for themselves. Create time. Time could change everything. This was Yi Qinghan's goal. The four of them walked forward silently, all thinking. After the four of them walked for half a year, a melody suddenly sounded in the sky. It was low, slow, and orderly. The four of them stood on the spot and stared blankly at the sky. It was as if the sound of nature came from the sky. The sound of nature was filled with desolation, sorrow, and despair. It was a little like the sound of an ancient Eru instrument. It seemed to be narrating the final struggle of a decaying old man who was about to die. It was very immersive. As the four of them listened to the melody, they felt as if the speed of time and space had increased by countless times. It was as if the melody was narrating their own story. Yi Qinghan and the others showed a trace of panic and sorrow. They wanted to struggle, but they could not move. Looking at the four of them from the outside, their faces were rapidly aging. In an instant, more than 100,000 years of life had passed. At this moment, the heaven-imprisoning Taoist scripture in Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness trembled slightly. It blocked the mournful sound in his mind and woke Yi Qinghan up. Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and saw that his skin had become dull, dry, and old. He could not help but be shocked. He looked at the other three and saw that they were aging faster than him. A trace of fear appeared in his eyes. This melody could actually change time. The other party must be a heaven-defying existence. Just a mournful sound was enough to kill the four of them. Yi Qinghan did not hesitate to take out his bamboo flute. He mobilized his soul spirit and blew into the mountains and rivers. The solemn and heroic melody intertwined with the mournful sound in an attempt to protect the other three. Hua hua hua. The two melodies intertwined. Yi Qinghan used the melody to attack the other party's melody, but the other party's melody took the initiative to contain Yi Qinghan's melody. The two sides were not on the same level. Chapter 2089. A melody could distort everything, change time, and kill people without them noticing. Only Yi Qinghan knew that the melody was not targeted at them. It was a random feeling. Otherwise, Zhang Yingshi, Fan Yin, and the son of war would all be dead. Hum. Boom boom boom. Yi Qinghan played his flute. The melodious sound of the flute reverberated through the sky. He wanted to wake the three of them up and fight for their lives. The flute was the natal flute of the Green Lotus Sword Fairy. It was very powerful and could subtly affect Yi Qinghan's soul. The melodious sound of the flute increased its power by dozens of times. It merged with the melody and changed the essence of the melody. Fan Yin, Zhang Yingshi, and the son of war finally woke up. Their eyes were filled with fear. They felt that they had experienced a lifetime and walked on the edge of death. Their mentality changed. After the essence of the melody changed, everything that Yi Qinghan and the rest experienced returned to normal. The sound of the flute continued. Yi Qinghan played his bamboo flute. The strong wind blew his Taoist robe and black hair. The sound of the eru was the same. It was filled with despair and sadness. It was like the rhythm of the heavens and earth. Yi Qinghan looked into the distance. He did not dare to relax and retreated slowly. The son of war, Fan Yin, and Zhang Yingshi also retreated quickly. The four of them walked slowly. After leaving the plain, the melody disappeared. Yi Qinghan almost collapsed to the ground. He had used 90% of his soul to activate the bamboo flute. At this moment, he leaned against an ancient tree, exhausted. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Thump thump thump. Fan Yin, Zhang Yingshi, and the rest felt their hearts beat wildly. Their chests rose and fell and their faces turned pale. I just experienced a lifetime, and felt death. Fan Yin muttered. Me too, Zhang Yingshi and the son of war nodded. The melody of death. In that instant, the three of them were almost pulled into the gates of hell. Once they died, even the heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage could not revive them. The melody was enough to destroy their souls and destroy them completely. Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and squatted beside the tree. He wiped the cold sweat on his forehead with his sleeve and sat cross-legged on the ground to absorb spiritual energy to restore his soul. After a long time, Yi Qinghan opened his eyes. He looked at the plains in the distance and said in a deep voice, "There are ghosts in the depths. We can't go any deeper." Fortunately, we didn't go too deep. Otherwise, we would have been dead for sure. Fan Yin rejoiced. Yi Qinghan nodded. At this moment, he could still vaguely hear the melody. After about 6 hours, the melody of death disappeared as if it had never appeared in the first place. Yi Qinghan was somewhat hesitant after the melody of death disappeared for a day and a night and still did not reappear. "I'll go in alone to take a look. You guys stay here," Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. At this time, it wasn't just Fan Yin. The son of war and Zhang Yingshi also firmly stopped him. "No, there's no need for you to explore this kind of melody at this time. You'll die. We've already obtained many opportunities. It doesn't matter if we don't have the immortal medicine. Don't even think about it. Come back with me." Fan Yin rudely twisted Yi Qinghan's ear and forcefully pulled him back the way they came. Yi Qinghan was speechless. He wanted to break free from Fan Yin's hand, but she had used her godly power. The only way to break free was to rip off his ear or shatter her hand. Obviously, neither of these methods would work. He could only let her pull him forward. "Senior sister. Hey, 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 my dear sister, let go. I won't go, okay?" Yi Qinghan repeatedly begged for mercy. "I'd be an idiot if I believed you. Come with me." Fan Yin rudely scolded. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and bent over. "I swear, before I reach the upper level, I won't explore the melody of death. Otherwise, I'll be impotent for the rest of my life. Senior sister, let go." Ha ha ha, the son of war and Zhang Yingshi both laughed heartily. Only then did Fan Yin let go. She slapped him hard on the back of his head and scolded, "Don't be so brainless next time. You won't be so lucky every time. Once you lose, it's all over. Don't forget, you have a family to feed." Yi Qinghan laughed awkwardly. He knew that Fan Yin was worried about him, so he didn't get angry. He could only follow Fan Yin and take another route to continue searching for the sacred medicine in the periphery. But less than a day after the four of them left, a demon appeared in that place. She had already taken human form and was extremely lucky. The beautiful demon was so beautiful that she didn't seem human at all. One look and you could tell that she wasn't human. She was so beautiful that words couldn't describe her. She was holding a leaf in her hand, and her eyes were like torches as if she was searching for something. She was an eternal saint-level existence. Her lotus-like footsteps covered thousands of miles with each step. Her divine sense covered the area and found Yi Qing Han and the others. Her figure flashed and stopped the four of them. Dong dong dong. The four of them were so shocked by this figure that their hearts were about to explode. At a glance, Yi Qing Han's hair stood on end and he took a few steps back. His Taoist robe automatically protected him. His face was pale as he looked directly at the demon's face. Although she was indescribably beautiful, he couldn't feel any admiration. The beautiful demon looked down at the four of them. Her thin lips moved slightly, and she asked indifferently, "Who was the one who played the flute 2 days ago?" Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Hiss hiss hiss. The four of them breathed rapidly and were horrified. They didn't expect to meet an eternal saint-level existence who had taken human form here. She was extremely lucky and could kill them with a wave of her hand. It's me, my lord. We didn't mean to disturb the saint." Yi Qing Han tried to control his emotions. He was even more afraid than when he met a human eternal saint-level expert, because she didn't care about feelings and didn't fear human forces. Fan Yin looked at the demon and swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva. It wasn't that he liked this woman, but that he was so scared that he didn't know what to do. The demon ignored the other three and stared at Yi Qing Han. She stretched out her snow-white fingers and said coldly, "Take out the flute and let me see it." Yi Qing Han was horrified. He didn't dare to go against her will. He stretched out his hand and handed the flute over. He bowed and placed it in the demon's hand. He didn't know what the demon's true form was. She reached out and held the flute. She gently played the flute, which was many times better than the flute played by Yi Qing Han. So it's the natal item of a supreme saint. No wonder it can travel countless miles and disturb my thoughts. The demon's eyes were like the brightest stars. They were emotionless and emotionless. She stared at the flute and muttered to herself. Yi Qing Han didn't dare to say anything. He could only pray that the demon wouldn't make a move. Otherwise, even if he could survive, Fan Yin and the others would die. The demon could tell that the original owner of the flute was a supreme saint with great fortune. Even so, she didn't show any emotion. She looked up at Yi Qing Han and reached out to grab Yi Qing Han. Her figure flashed and they were thousands of miles away in an instant. Whoosh! Time and space reversed and the stars moved. Time seemed to accelerate. Whoosh! After a day and a night, the demon brought Yi Qing Han across countless miles. They appeared in an endless desolate palace. Profound mysteries soared into the sky, and laws filled the air. It was unknown how many years it had stood here. Yi Qing Han didn't dare to resist. He looked at the demon with a pale face, not knowing what she wanted to do. Chapter 2090. On the main road deep in the palace, hundreds of flowers bloomed all around. The fragrance was overwhelming. Many sacred herbs that were more than hundreds of thousands of years old swayed in the wind, planning to transform and soar into the sky. The two of them stood on the bluestone road, looking at each other. "What is your name?" The demon stared at Yi Qing Han for a long time and asked coldly. Yi Qing Han immediately replied, replying to Supreme, "This junior is Yi Qing Han, the orphan of the great Shang world." The demon flipped her hand and a bamboo flute appeared in her hand. She asked coldly. The great Shang world was the heaven-shrouding secret realm, the world of the green lotus sword immortal. He did not expect this demon to know about this world. Yi Qing Han hesitated for a moment, then bowed and replied, you can say that I am from the great Shang world. I have some opportunities with the Green Lotus Sword Immortal. However, I come from a small region called the Land of Sinners by the people of the Eternal World. Oh! The demon's voice was so cold that it could freeze an upper realm cultivator. Her cold eyes stared at Yi Qinghan. She could feel Yi Qinghan's emotions and knew that he was telling the truth. She then nodded and asked, "Then do you know who I am?" Yi Qinghan did not know who she was and could only shake his head. "You can call me Bailey Qinxiang. I do not have a real body. I am a substance formed by the fragrance of hundreds of flowers in this world. I was fortunate enough to listen to the great sage's teachings countless times. Thanks to that, after countless years of bitter cultivation, I comprehended the creation and transformed into a human form. As long as the flowers and sacred herbs in this world are not destroyed, I will not die," the demon said coldly. Yi Qinghan looked at the demon in puzzlement. He did not understand what she wanted to do. What did this have to do with him? Why did she capture him and bring him here? "Are you curious why I captured you?" Bailey Qinxiang stared at Yi Qinghan and asked indifferently. Yi Qinghan nodded repeatedly. Bailey Qinxiang was silent for a moment before she said, "This place is called the Coiling Dragon Realm. Back then, the master's surname was Bailey and his name was Dragon Immortal. He was the creator of the Coiling Dragon Realm and also the father god of all living things in the realm. He disliked war and had never made enemies with anyone. He only accompanied the flowers and all living things, but he was suppressed by the people of the eternal world. Even now, his corpse is still missing. Back then, he had a divine pet, the eternal holy dragon, but it was also suppressed. However, the holy dragon laid an egg, which I released into the outside world. Now that you have obtained it, you can be considered to have received kindness from him." Yi Qinghan widened his eyes and said in confusion, "You think too highly of me. With my little strength, if I were to carry your shoes and massage your back, you would think that my cultivation is too low. How can I help you? Of course I don't need your help. However, I need you to act as a middleman. Let me find the master of this flute. I will ask her for help." Bailey Qinxiang raised her hand and the flute appeared in front of Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. Green Lotus Sword Immortal could not even protect herself. How could he help her take revenge? To tell you the truth, Green Lotus Sword Immortal was also seriously injured back then. Now, she has lost half of her origin. She is now in hiding. It is impossible for her to join hands with you to take revenge, Yi Qinghan said helplessly. When Bailey Qinxiang heard this, her mood immediately turned bad. Her gaze towards Yi Qinghan was no longer gentle. Instead, it was like a bone-piercing knife. When Yi Qinghan saw this, he knew that the situation was bad. He took a few steps back. His eyes flashed and he quickly said, "I have good news to tell you. However, you have to send me out after hearing it." "That depends on whether your news is really good or not," Bailey Qinxiang said coldly. "If your father is also a great sage, I can guarantee that he is definitely not dead. This is because the Holy Empire's Holy Lord cannot kill such an existence. He can only suppress their soul and prevent them from fusing with their body. It is just like Green Lotus Sword Immortal. That year, Green Lotus Sword Immortal was also like this. However, I accidentally saved her. If the Holy Empire's Holy Lord cannot kill Green Lotus Sword Immortal, he certainly cannot kill your father, Bailey Longxian, right?" Yi Qinghan said solemnly. Sure enough, when she heard this news, Bailey Qinxiang's eyes flashed with a strange light. She was incomparably excited. "Is this true?" "Of course. I dare not deceive the Holy Lord." The two looked at each other again. Yi Qinghan did not show the slightest bit of fear. The fragrance of flowers pervaded the air. Bailey Qinxiang's aura became stronger. She stared at Yi Qinghan and said in a deep voice, "Since you can find Green Lotus Sword Immortal, you can also find my father. I will leave this matter to you. Yi Qing Han, this. You are really in a difficult position. I am already miserable enough to encounter a great sage corpse. If I encounter a second one, I will definitely die. Moreover, if the Holy Empire's people want to hide the corpse, how can I, a mere middle realm expert, find it for you? Yi Qing Han smiled bitterly. Help or not? Just say it. Bailey Qinxiang asked emotionlessly. When Yi Qing Han saw Bailey Qinxiang's killing intent, he immediately replied firmly, I will help. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. The Holy Empire and I are also mortal enemies. You can rest assured that I will help. As the saying goes, a wise man submits to circumstances, and Yi Qing Han was definitely a wise man. Bailey Qinxiang nodded in satisfaction, and her killing intent dissipated. Yi Qing Han's forehead was covered in sweat. This was even more terrifying than accompanying a monarch was like accompanying a tiger. She could kill him just because she was slightly unhappy. Yi Qing Han saw that Bailey Qinxiang's expression was slightly better, and thought to himself, if I don't rip her off now, I won't have the chance next time. Holy Lord, with my strength, I am of little help to you. How about you help me and give me 2 or 3 immortal herbs? Once my cultivation increases, it will be more convenient to find your father. Yi Qing Han rubbed his hands and said embarrassedly. Bailey Qinxiang glanced coldly at Yi Qing Han, and the corners of her mouth raised into a sneer. Immortal herbs were precious. In such a huge secret realm, it was already good if one immortal herb appeared every million years. Yi Qing Han actually opened his mouth and asked for 2 or 3 immortal herbs. His tone was not ordinary. Immortal herbs were between the eternal sage realm and the sage realm. As long as it was recognized by the heavens and earth, it could directly transform into a human form. Its cultivation was comparable to that of an eternal sage. If you don't have any, you can just give me some holy herbs. Yi Qing Han smiled embarrassedly. Bailey Qinxiang stared at Yi Qing Han and asked indifferently, it's not that I don't have any immortal herbs, but if I really give you one, can you guarantee that you can help me save my father? Yi Qing Han didn't dare to be so sure, but in order to get the immortal herbs, he still said firmly, as long as my cultivation reaches the eternal sage realm, it's only a matter of time before I find your father. Bailey Qinxiang's eyes were too aggressive, as if she could see through Yi Qing Han's soul. After a long time, she said coldly, this is what you said. Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you took the immortal herbs and left the coiling dragon realm. You have received benefits from me, so you have to work for me. If you dare to deceive me, I will make you suffer. Absolutely not. Yi Qing Han was ecstatic and quickly bowed. Chapter 2091. Yi Qing Han was overjoyed. Since Bailey Qinxiang promised him immortal herbs, it seemed like it was a done deal. Bailey Qinxiang coldly stared at Yi Qing Han for a while before leaving. As for how she left, a rookie like Yi Qing Han couldn't see it. However, he wasn't interested in knowing. He turned around and looked at the sacred herbs around him. They were at least several 100,000 years old. Any one of them would be enough to save his life, or even an upper-level expert's life. Yi Qing Han swallowed a mouthful of saliva. These sacred herbs could be found all over the Saint Palace. They were all cultivated by Bailey Qinxiang over the years. The divine bird was already excited and reminded, boss, take some away. She probably won't find out even if you take tens of thousands of them. Cough cough. Yi Qing Han coughed and said softly, shut up. Do you know who she is? She is a supreme being formed by hundreds of flowers. Only by listening to the great sage's preaching can she reach the heavens. If we take one, she will find out. So, we can't steal it. I will discuss it with her later. She can just give us 10 mu of sacred herbs. It will be enough for our insane sect to become a powerful sect. The divine bird was impatient. It wanted to rush over and take some, but Yi Qing Han did not allow it. In the depths of the coiling dragon's secret realm, in the endless wilderness, a supreme immortal peach tree stood tall. Half of the peach blossoms were in full bloom, while the other half had already borne fruit. The red immortal peach was about to fall. There were countless variant immortal peach trees around. They were no different from the ones Yi Qing Han obtained. Whoosh! Bailey Qinxiang turned into a wisp of flower petals and surrounded the supreme immortal peach tree. The supreme immortal peach tree did not leave. It even shook its leaves and bathed in sacred light. Little Bailey, long time no see. The supreme immortal peach tree spoke in human language. Its voice was deep and powerful. Grandpa Peach Tree, I have news from Father. It is good news. You will be very happy after hearing it. Bailey Qinxiang said in a clear voice. Her voice was filled with joy. It had never appeared in front of Yi Qing Han before. Oh. Is it news from Venerable Dragon Immortal? What is it? Who told you? The supreme immortal peach tree transformed into a human face. Countless peach blossoms formed a body with white hair. It looked like an otherworldly immortal. It's a human. Based on my perception, his soul didn't lie. He said that Father God didn't die, but his soul and body were suppressed by the Holy Empire's Holy Lord. As long as his soul and body are released, Father God will definitely return. Bailey Qinxiang revealed her human form and respectfully said. How is that? The Supreme Immortal. And the Supreme Immortal Peach Tree, the Supreme Immortal Peach Tree, the Supreme Immortal God. And the Supreme Immortal. The Supreme Peach Tree. Bailey Qinxiang quickly replied, because the great Shang world's green lotus sword immortal soul and body were also suppressed by the Holy Empire's sacred master. He said that the Holy Empire's sacred master couldn't kill the eternal great sage and could only suppress him separately. He found the green lotus sword immortal's body and released her soul. Therefore, the green lotus sword immortal has been revived, but half of her origin is missing and she is still in hiding. The supreme immortal peach tree's aura suddenly rose. Its empty eyes stared at Bailey Qinxiang. After a long time, it asked, then what is the purpose of your visit? Grandpa Peach Tree, you and Father God are good friends, so you definitely hope that Father God can return. That human promised me that as long as we pay 2 or 3 immortal herbs, he is willing to help us find Father God's body and release Father God's soul. Your immortal peaches have matured. If Grandpa Peach Tree is willing to give us 3 immortal peaches, I will be extremely grateful. Bailey Qinxiang respectfully requested. The supreme immortal peach tree hesitated. Once the immortal peaches matured, it would be exposed. The holy nation's holy emperor would definitely come to the coiling dragon's secret realm to search again. Not to mention the holy nation's holy emperor, even the heavenly grandmaster great sage and that existence from the Oshi holy ground had personally come to search. However, the supreme immortal peach tree in Bailey Qinxiang had cleverly avoided them. It is very risky. Don't go for wool and come home shorn. Before we release Dragon Immortal's body and soul, we will be devoured. The supreme immortal peach tree reminded in a deep voice. Bailey Qinxiang knelt down and said resolutely, Qinxiang, listen to Father's teachings. Only then will I have the opportunity to attain eternity. I am willing to give my life for Father. If Dragon Immortal knew, he would definitely be happy. Who would have thought that our unintentional actions back then would create a miracle like you? The supreme immortal peach tree sighed. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew. The 3 immortal peaches automatically fell off and flew in front of Bailey Qinxiang. It spoke again, then I will play with you one more time. Since I can hide you from the 3 great sages, I can also hide you from the 4th tribulation. Give it to him. Thank you, Grandpa. Thank you, Grandpa. For Father to have such a close friend like you, I'm sure he will be pleased. Bailey Qinxiang smiled. She reached out her jade-like hands and caught the 3 immortal peaches that were the size of a head. She bowed and said. The supreme immortal peach tree sighed and said, after giving the immortal peaches to that person, tell him not to reveal them to the world. After he finds Dragon Immortal's body and soul, tell him to bring them to the coiling dragon realm. Also, you can no longer stay in the divine palace. Return to my side. We can leave the coiling dragon realm at any time and go to other small realms to escape the tribulation. Yes, Grandpa Peach Tree. Bailey Qinxiang bowed and retreated. Yi Qinghan was still anxiously waiting. After a full day, Bailey Qinxiang finally appeared in front of him. Her face was still cold, unlike the delicate and cute appearance she had in front of the supreme immortal peach tree. I can give you the immortal herb, but you can't tell anyone about it. Also, after you find Father's body and soul, send him safely back to the coiling dragon realm. I will reward you handsomely. Bailey Qinxiang said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan held back his ecstasy and raised his hand to swear, I swear on my Tao heart that I will never tell anyone about the immortal herb. Otherwise, my Tao heart will collapse and I will never be able to rise again. Moreover, I will do my best to find Bailey Longxian's body and soul and send him back to the coiling dragon realm. Bailey Qinxiang had no choice but to believe in Yi Qinghan. She could not enter the eternal world. Otherwise, the world would be turned upside down and the eternal sage would be provoked. She would never be able to leave the eternal world. Whoosh! 3 immortal peaches appeared in front of Yi Qinghan. The immortal peaches were plump and tender, looking like peaches from the immortal world. They were many times better than the mature immortal peaches he had. Yi Qinghan trembled with excitement. He did not expect that Bailey Qinxiang would give him 3 of these immortal peaches at once. He had really earned a lot. Thank you, fairy. Thank you, fairy. As the saying goes, one who eats others is soft-hearted, and one who takes others is soft-hearted. Since I have accepted these 3 immortal peaches, I will definitely do my best for you. Yi Qinghan smiled excitedly. If there is nothing else, I will send you back to your companions. Bailey Qinxiang did not want to listen to Yi Qinghan's flattery and said coldly. Wait. That. Can you give me some of your sacred herbs? After all, I am still in the middle realm and need a lot of high-grade sacred herbs. At this time, Yi Qinghan was a little embarrassed. He rubbed his hands and asked with a smile. Chapter 2092. When Bailey Qinxiang heard Yi Qinghan's request, her eyes widened. Her white face was so perfect that it was flawless. Her pure eyes stared at Yi Qinghan, making him feel a little embarrassed. He had obtained 3 peaches of immortality this time. Any one of them would be fought over by saints and great sages. However, he was not satisfied and wanted these high-grade holy herbs. High-grade holy herbs covered tens of thousands of miles. Bailey Qinxiang was the master of these flowers. She had cultivated them when she was bored. She even treated these flowers as her own children. Therefore, when Yi Qinghan made this request, she could not understand why a human would make such a request. You are too greedy. Bailey Qinxiang said without any trace of politeness. Yi Qinghan smiled and said, this is all to find your father God as soon as possible. If you can't accept it, then just pretend that I didn't say anything. When it came to Bailey Longxian, Bailey Qinxiang compromised. She could only ask in a muffled voice, how much do you want? Yi Qinghan smiled shyly and said, you can give as much as you want. This junior will absolutely not dare to refuse. Bailey Qinxiang thought for a moment. Anyway, she was going to leave. It was impossible to take them all with her. If she stayed here, they would be ruined. It was better to let these holy herbs play a role and let Father God return as soon as possible. She said, take as much as you can. After all, I can't stay here anymore and can't take them away. Yi Qinghan was overjoyed. When he heard Bailey Qinxiang's words, how could he be polite? If I take all of them, you won't be angry, right? Yi Qinghan asked expectantly. Bailey Qinxiang's breath stagnated. She really wanted to slap this bastard to death. However, she had already made a promise. She could not go back on her words. She could only say impatiently, take it. As long as you can't kill them in front of me, you can take as much as you want. Yi Qinghan unceremoniously opened the eternal sacred tool storage ring. With a wave of his hand, he took away a large area of mountains and rivers. Except for the divine palace, the soil in the flower bed was uprooted. Not even a blade of grass was left behind. This was the so-called plucking feathers from a wild goose. Even a mouse would cover its face and leave. It was really too miserable. A radius of tens of thousands of miles. It was all Bailey Qinxiang's painstaking efforts. A few days later, Yi Qinghan plundered it was plundered. Of course. To tell you the truth, I also have enmity with the Holy Empire. And I have enmity. And it's not small. As long as I cultivate, too. To tell you the truth. Hatred and an enmity me is a gift. To be honest, to you. Holy and I, holy. And it. Holy, Bailey Qinxiang obviously didn't believe Yi Qinghan's words. The Holy Empire's strength was enough to destroy several saints' worlds in the past. Even a great sage world couldn't escape this calamity. Yi Qinghan was just an insignificant middle-level cultivator. Wasn't he afraid of biting his tongue by saying this? Looking at Bailey Qinxiang's disdainful eyes, Yi Qinghan's competitive spirit rose. He firmly said, "You don't believe me. I have been chased by the Holy Empire's holy son for many years. This grudge will be settled sooner or later. Moreover, I also have the blood of sinners. My ancestor was also suppressed in hell by the Holy Empire's Holy Lord. If I don't want to take revenge, what is the difference between me and a salted fish?" Bailey Qinxiang looked at Yi Qinghan, nodded silently, and said seriously, "I believe in you. Since Green Lotus Sword Immortal is willing to give you her natal flute, it means that she thinks highly of you. When I was still conscious, I saw Green Lotus Sword Immortal visit Father God. I know her courage and eyesight. Since she believes in you, I have no need to doubt you." Yi Qinghan nodded confidently. If he didn't have the confidence to kill a great sage before, then with the imprisoning Heaven Tao scripture, he might be able to kill a great sage. "I will send you back." Hua! With a wave of Bailey Qinxiang's hand, thousands of petals soared into the air, wrapping Yi Qinghan and disappearing into the depths of the palace in the blink of an eye. At this time, the son of war, Fan Yin, and Zhang Yingshi still hadn't reacted. They stayed in the same place to set up camp, hoping that Yi Qinghan could return safely. "Sigh, this time Yi Qinghan disturbed the eternal fairy for us. I hope nothing bad happens to him." Zhang Yingshi looked worried, sitting on a hillside and looking into the depths. He wanted to see Yi Qinghan immediately appear in front of him. Fan Yin looked helpless and frightened, and asked nervously, "Do you think that fairy will kill little Yi?" It was obvious that Fan Yin had fallen in love with Yi Qinghan. However, the son of war was very calm, and calmly reminded, "Actually, you don't need to worry. If that fairy wanted to kill Brother Yi, she didn't need to take him away. She could kill the four of us with a wave of her hand. It must be. I think the son of war is right." Zhang Yingshi nodded and said expectantly. Fan Yin was weak at this time, leaning against the mountain rock, and didn't even bother to breathe. He just wanted to see Yi Qinghan as soon as possible. The three of them felt like a year, but fortunately, there were no powerful monsters here. Time flew by. Bailey Qinxiang was an eternal saint and the Lord of 100 Flowers. Her attack power might not be as good as other eternal saints, but her speed was definitely not bad. After a day and a night, Bailey Qinxiang appeared 10,000 miles away from the three of them with Yi Qinghan. She didn't want to meet them again, so she put Yi Qinghan in a valley and reminded him in a deep voice, "Don't forget our agreement. If you dare to take the benefits but don't take action, I will personally go out and find you. Fairy, don't worry, I will inquire about the specific whereabouts of Master Long Xian. Once I know, I will find a way to rescue him." Yi Qinghan said firmly. Bailey Qinxiang then retreated. As soon as Bailey Qinxiang left, Yi Qinghan couldn't hide his excitement. In the valley, he held his stomach and laughed in ecstasy. "I am rich. A strong sect is just around the corner, and the Saint Realm is within my reach. Xia Jiolong and the Cloud Dragon Sage are no longer a threat. Holy Emperor of the Holy Empire, I am not afraid of you." Yi Qinghan was so proud that he was rolling and jumping on the grass like a child. But at this moment, Bailey Qinxiang didn't go far, but stood not far away and stared at him, wanting to see his expression. She didn't expect to see such a scene. "Humph." Bailey Qinxiang snorted coldly. After confirming that Yi Qinghan and the Holy Empire really had a grudge, she left. After Yi Qinghan heard the cold snort, he suddenly felt his hair stand on end. He looked at Bailey Qinxiang's back and felt extremely embarrassed. "So embarrassing, are you still the boss? Keep a low profile, understand?" The divine bird said disdainfully. Yi Qinghan smiled awkwardly, scratched his head, and quickly rushed to Fan Yin and the others. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Yi Qinghan leaped into the air, boldly breaking through the clouds and appearing outside the three's camp. "Ha ha ha, I am back." Yi Qinghan laughed loudly, no longer hiding his feelings. "Hua!" When Fan Yin saw Yi Qinghan, she immediately rushed over and hugged him tightly, kissing him directly. Chapter 2093. Fan Yin's actions gave Yi Qinghan a fright. However, Fan Yin immediately retreated. She was still as gentle as water a moment ago. She immediately took a step back and kicked Yi Qinghan in the chest, venting her resentment. "You bastard, you worried me to death, do you know that?" Fan Yin said with her eyes wide open. Yi Qinghan's chest tightened from the kick. He did not expect that Fan Yin, this woman, would not be able to take any injustice and vent it out on the spot. "What does this have to do with me? I'm the victim. She only caught me, what can I do?" Yi Qinghan said innocently. "But I'm in a bad mood because I'm worried about you." "It's normal for me to kick you to vent my anger," Fan Yin replied snappily. "You're so hard to deal with." Yi Qinghan was speechless, but he could not hide his excitement. The three of them could still see the happiness in his eyes. "Why are you so excited? Did you take in another seductress?" Zhang Yingshi smiled mockingly. Yi Qinghan grinned and said, No, of course I'm excited to be able to come back alive. Let's go back. There's no need to stay in the mystic realm. This guy must have gotten a lot of treasures. Everyone who saw it will get a share. Hurry up and share it." Fan Yin stretched out her hand and demanded. Yi Qinghan smiled cheekily and said straightforwardly, "Each of you will get 200 stalks of high-grade sacred medicine. All of them are life-saving treasures. Big Brother here will be very generous." Zhang Yingshi and the Son of Battle did not have anything to say. After all, Yi Qinghan had risked his life to get these. Even giving one stalk was a favor, let alone 200 stalks. Fan Yin considered Yi Qinghan as one of her own. If he gave too much, she would not be polite. If he gave too little, she would not be willing. 200 stalks was not a small amount, so she did not say anything. When Yi Qinghan took out the 600 high-grade saint medicines, Fan Yin didn't say anything. These high-grade saint medicines were priceless outside, second only to saint medicines. As for the Son of War and Zhang Yingshi, they were overjoyed. After splitting the sacred medicine, although the other three wanted to continue searching for the immortal medicine, Yi Qinghan was no longer willing to do so. The other three did not say anything else and left with Yi Qinghan. The four of them strolled through the mountains and rivers, traversing the mountains and rivers. After a few months of running, they returned to the entrance of the coiling dragon's secret realm. Yi Qinghan did not immediately open the entrance. Instead, he sat cross-legged on the ground and rested. After eating a sacred medicine, he recovered to his peak condition. The other three could not bear to eat sacred medicine. They could only rely on the spiritual qi of heaven and earth to slowly accumulate their god power. Yi Qinghan was not in a hurry. Instead, he continued to study the sacred annihilation finger. Outside the secret realm, at the entrance, Xia Jiulong, Xian Xiu, and the 10 great divine generals were resting and cultivating. They silently waited for Yi Qinghan. Once the 10 great divine generals surrounded Yi Qinghan would definitely not be their match. In the eyes of Xia Jiulong and divine generals Luo Fei, Yi Qinghan would definitely die this time. After about an hour, Yi Qinghan felt that it was about time. He got up and flew above the entrance. He tore open a crack and peeked at the 10 great divine generals and Xia Jiulong outside the secret realm. He grinned and waved his hand to take out the blue lotus demonic flower. Cooperate with me later. I don't want to kill anyone. I just want Xia Jiulong to retreat, Yi Qinghan said calmly. The blue lotus demonic flower swayed its branches and leaves, emitting a seductive blue light. At that moment, Fan Yin and the others woke up. They were all in peak condition. They held their weapons in their hands and looked at Yi Qinghan, ready to leave at any time. Xia Jiulong, the 10 great divine generals, and Xian Xiu are outside. You don't have to do anything later. I'll use my domain to play with Xia Jiulong. You can take the opportunity to leave. They can't do anything to me, Yi Qinghan said with a faint smile. The son of war shook his head. He really sympathized with Xia Jiulong. They had brought 200 to 300 people this time. Now, there were only 12 people left. Were they really going to let Xia Jiulong go back without an army? Fan Yin and Zhang Yingshi nodded and prepared to tear open the entrance. Yi Qinghan pulled out berserk, put on his Taoist robe, and put away the blue lotus demonic flower. He said calmly, on the count of 3, you guys tear open the barrier. I'll attack. As long as we charge out, I'll use my domain. Okay. The 3 of them replied in unison. 1. 2. 3, whoosh. Zhang Yingshi tore open the barrier, Fan Yin and the son of war defended, and Yi Qinghan slashed outside. In fact, the moment Zhang Yingshi tore open the barrier, Xia Jiulong had already led the 11 experts to attack the barrier. His divine power overflowed and instantly surrounded the barrier. Boom! The barrier shone brightly and suppressed the heavens. The aftershocks shattered mountains and rivers, and rumbled in all directions. Yi Qinghan's slash seemed to have used up all his strength. At his peak, he actually shook the attacks of the 12 experts. Both sides retreated fiercely. Whoosh! Zhang Yingshi grabbed Yi Qinghan and pulled him out of the barrier. Whoosh! As soon as the 4 experts entered the island, a gust of wind swept up the fallen leaves. The world turned blue and turned into a domain. Just as the 10 divine generals steadied themselves, they suddenly realized that there were 2 Xia Jiulongs. They were identical. They both held 9 dragon fans and wore sacred dragon robes. Even if one of them was an illusion, it was impossible to tell the real one from the fake. Xia Jiulong glared and clenched his 9 dragon fan tightly. He charged straight at Yi Qinghan's illusion. 9 heavenly dragons swept across the land and charged towards Yi Qinghan. However, Yi Qinghan used the same strength as Yi Qinghan. The same moves and the same 9 divine dragons intertwined and fought in a chaotic battle. Kill the 3 of them and then help me. Xia Jiulong roared angrily. However, Yi Qinghan roared, "This bastard is a fake. He wants to kill us with a borrowed knife. He wants us to offend the 3 holy lands at the same time. Let the 3 of them leave. I just want to keep him alive today." The 10 divine generals were stunned. They stood in their spots, not knowing what to do. Fan Yin, Zhang Yingshi, and the son of battle stood in their spots and watched the show. They could already tell who was Yi Qinghan. However, the 10 divine generals could not. Because the 2 Xia Zhulongs were right. If they killed the son of battle, Zhang Yingshi, and Fan Yin now, once Yi Qinghan escaped, the Holy Empire would be besieged. However, the 10 divine generals knew that their goal this time was to kill the 4 of them. This time, the situation was different. Yi Qinghan and Xia Zhulong could move mountains and rivers, but their moves were exactly the same. They were evenly matched. Neither could do anything to the other. They could only stop and glare angrily at each other, wanting to crush the other. Divine General Luo Fei, this emperor is the real Xia Zhulong. Can't you tell? Xia Zhulong stared at Divine General Luo Fei and roared. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and put away the 9-dragon fan. He stared at Xia Zhulong and said coldly, "Yi Qinghan, don't try to deny it. Today, the 3 of them can leave, but you are dead." That's what I wanted to say too. Yi Qinghan, you better hand over the Yin-Yang Bagua robe, berserk, and eternal glove to this emperor. Then, this emperor might spare your life. Xia Zhulong said angrily. Yi Qinghan's performance was perfect. He controlled his expression and emotions very well. The 2 sides were at each other's throats. At this moment, the son of battle, Fan Yin, and Zhang Yingshi calmly left. The 10 divine generals did not know if they should stop them. Chapter 2094. Fan Yin and the others left, leaving Xian Xiu and the 10 divine generals looking at each other, unsure of who to help. Yi Qinghan gently fanned the 9-dragon fan and stared at Xia Zhulong. He made the first move and said coldly, "Yi Qinghan, no matter what demonic technique you use, there will always be a flaw. Your friend has already left. Do you think you can escape from the encirclement of the 10 divine generals and I?" Xia Zhulong was flustered and exasperated. He rushed over to fight Yi Qinghan again, but without using the immortal sealing imprint, Yi Qinghan could use all his secret techniques. This was the miracle of a domain, so he had no choice but to retreat to the side. He looked at Xian Xiu and said in a low voice, "Xian Xiu, you've followed me for so many years. Can't you tell the difference between real and fake?" "Xian Xiu, I'm the real one. Can't you tell?" Yi Qinghan pretended to be angry as he questioned Xian Xiu. Xian Xiu was dumbfounded. The 2 of them were exactly the same. He couldn't tell the difference at all. The entire world was blue, as if everything was the same. He couldn't tell the difference. This should be a domain, a special ability of some kind of creature. However, no creature can be perfect. Divine General Luo Fei stared at the 2 of them. The divine sword in his hand vibrated lightly. After a long time, he unsheathed it and attacked Yi Qinghan. Hum! Whoosh! The sword was graceful, and its killing intent soared. Yi Qinghan was expressionless. He watched coldly as the divine sword reached his throat. He didn't move an inch. "I believe you, Divine General. You should now understand that I'm the real Xia Zhulong. Yi Qinghan definitely won't let you attack him," Yi Qinghan said with a faint smile. Whoosh! The 10 divine generals and Xian Xiu surrounded the real Xia Zhulong and drew their swords. Xia Zhulong was furious. He roared, "Are you crazy? I'm the real Xia Zhulong. Get out of my way. I don't need you today. I can still kill this bastard. I'll prove to you that Yi Qinghan is the ant." Boom! Xia Zhulong's aura soared into the heavens, and his might was like that of a saint. A special imprint appeared on his forehead, and it was in the shape of a swastika. It continuously rotated, absorbing the divine force of the world. This is an immortal sealing imprint. Yi Qinghan, so what if you use demons to control domains? Can you create an immortal sealing imprint? Xia Jiulong roared. As Xia Jiulong said, Yi Qinghan used the blue lotus bewitching flower's innate ability to control domains. But, it could only manifest existences below the eternal sovereign realm. It couldn't even manifest existences on the verge of stepping into the saint realm, much less this special mark. Yi Qinghan looked at the symbol and sneered, I didn't expect you to obtain such an opportunity during the heaven worship ceremony. However, it will be mine sooner or later, so I'll leave it to you for now. Yi Qinghan no longer concealed himself and reverted to his original form. His Taoist robes were sharp and cold as he tore through the void. He looked down at Xia Jiulong and his aura did not lose out to his opponent in the slightest. Whoosh! 12 experts instantly surrounded Yi Qinghan. Just as they were about to attack, they suddenly saw Yi Qinghan's figure inexplicably shatter and dissipate with the wind. Ha ha ha! Although I can't manifest this immortal sealing imprint, this is still my domain. I am the saint within this domain. As long as I don't allow it, you can slowly search for the exit. This uncle is leaving, whoosh. His voice became softer and softer as Yi Qinghan disappeared from everyone's sight. Xia Jiulong roared, break the domain for me. Don't let him escape again. Boom. The 10 divine generals joined forces, their killing intent soaring to the sky. 10 swords merged into one and shattered everything. The blue world did not shatter, but it became much fainter. Xia Jiulong suppressed his anger and did not use the immortal sealing imprint. Because once he used it, he would need at least 10 years before he could use it again. This was the disadvantage. The mystic joined the attack team and attacked continuously for more than 2 hours. The barrier shattered and everything returned to normal. But at this moment, Yi Qinghan had already disappeared without a trace. 50,000 miles away, Yi Qinghan stepped on the void, his figure twisting and turning. He had actually caught up to Fan Yin and the others. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's figure flashed and appeared in front of them. He said in a low voice, I can't imitate Xia Jiulong anymore. Let's leave quickly. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 4 of them moved as fast as lightning. In order to escape, they did not hesitate to pay any price. They even held high-grade sage medicines in their mouths, ready to swallow them to replenish their divine power. Xia Jiulong led the 11 upper-level experts and moved even faster. Although Yi Qinghan was 2 hours ahead of them, the distance between them was shortened by a lot. This was because Zhang Yingshi and the Son of Battle were not as fast as Fan Yin and Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed as he held a high-grade sage medicine in his mouth. He gestured with his hand and said, let's go. I'll bring you along. Fan Yin grabbed Yi Qinghan's left hand, Zhang Yingshi grabbed Fan Yin, and the Son of Battle grabbed Yi Qinghan's right hand. The 4 of them moved in parallel. Yi Qinghan activated the Green Lotus Immortal Steps, seizing the heavens, and Shadowless Cloud Manipulation. The 2 great sage techniques merged and quickly drained his divine power. He tore through the sky and appeared on the other side of the coiling dragon island. Whoosh! The high-grade sage medicine in Yi Qinghan's mouth transformed into a surge of divine power that poured into his dantian and limbs like an ocean. In the blink of an eye, his divine power was filled to the peak. Boom! Yi Qinghan landed on the beach with everyone. At this moment, Xia Jiulong was nowhere to be seen. This was a gamble using sage medicine. Only Yi Qinghan could afford to do so. After all, a high-grade sage medicine represented a life. Not everyone was willing to use sage medicine to escape. Phew! Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief. Although his body was filled with divine power, his soul was extremely tired. His mind went black, and he almost collapsed to the ground. I'll rest for a while. We're at least 3 to 5 days away from them. Even if we enter the continent of the Great World, they might not be able to catch up to us. Yi Qinghan sat cross-legged on the ground and absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to recover. After a full 2 hours, Yi Qinghan's forehead was covered in sweat and dripped down like raindrops. His soul was full, and divine light flowed around his body. He was filled with divine power. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief and open his eyes. Like lightning, he pierced through the void and looked into the depths. Let's go. Let's enter the continent first. It'll be impossible for them to kill you all without restraint, Yi Qinghan said calmly. Zhang Yingshi understood them and said confidently, their speed isn't that exaggerated. I'm starting to wonder what kind of forbidden technique you used. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the 4 of them rode the wind and broke through the waves, rushing into the endless sea. They flew very fast, but it didn't affect their conversation. Fan Yin had long suspected Yi Qinghan's forbidden technique. It had some of the essence of shadowless cloud, and some of it was even more profound. It seemed to be of a higher level than shadowless cloud. She couldn't help but ask curiously, little Yi, don't lie to me. Are you using a secret immortal technique? However, before Yi Qinghan could answer, Fan Yin denied it. She shook her head and said, that's not right. You knew this forbidden technique before the heaven worship ceremony. What kind of trick is this? Why can you teleport? Yi Qinghan didn't dare to tell her that this was Green Lotus immortal step seizing the heavens. He smiled mysteriously and said calmly, it's a secret. This is my trump card. Chapter 2095. Time and space flowed in reverse, the sea roared, and a wave rose to the 9 heavens. The 4 of them broke through the waves, and their speed was like a meteor piercing through the clouds. After more than 3 months, they rushed to the shore of the continent. At this time, Xia Jiulong led 11 experts and rushed to the center of the sea. Yi Qinghan and the rest rested for another day upon entering the continent. Then, they charged into the hinterland of the continent. They passed through mountains and rivers and entered the territory of the Heavenly Grand Master Church. The 4 of them did not split up. Instead, they rushed into the Heavenly Grand Master Church. Yi Qinghan and Fan Yin entered the Heavenly Grand Master world to meet the Heavenly Grand Master Grand Sage. The Heavenly Grand Master Grand Sage retracted his aura and became stronger. When he opened his eyes, it was frightening. It seemed like he had improved in these days. For someone like him, every step forward was like reaching the heavens. Where have you been? The Heavenly Grand Master Grand Sage asked. Fan Yin smiled and hugged the neck of the Heavenly Grand Master Grand Sage, who was sitting on the chair, like a spoiled child. She bent over and faced Yi Qinghan and said, Old man, we went to the Coiling Dragon Island and found many good things. Some of them are for you. Oh. What is it? The benevolent Heavenly Grand Master Grand Sage smiled and the great Tao rumbled. Fan Yin stood up and came before the Heavenly Grand Master Grand Sage. She took out 7,000 heavenly spiritual holy stones and said respectfully, Old man, thank you for taking care of me all these years. I have grown up. These 7,000 heavenly spiritual holy stones are for you. Yi Qinghan also took out 7,000 heavenly spiritual holy stones and knelt before the Heavenly Grand Master Grand Sage on one knee. He said respectfully, Master, thank you for taking care of me. I have no way of repaying you. These heavenly spiritual holy stones are for you. I hope you will accept them. The Heavenly Grand Master Grand Sage looked at the 2 of them and his eyes were filled with gratitude. He nodded and waved his hand to keep the heavenly spiritual holy stones. He smiled and said, Since it is your filial piety, I will accept it. That's the right thing to do. Old man, Little Yi even said that he would brew a few jars of the best wine for you. The wine is made from mutated immortal peaches. Fanine reached out and took out a round and smooth immortal peach. She shook her jade-like arm and said with a smile, "This is the immortal peach." The heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage's eyes flashed. He reached out and snatched the peach. With a look of surprise, he asked, "Where did you find the supreme immortal peach?" Yi Qinghan scratched his head. He did not expect the heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage to be interested in such peaches. He replied, "It's at the entrance to the Coiling Dragon's secret territory. I still have some peach trees. If you want them, I can give you some. Take one and show it to me. I am not interested in a xenogeneic immortal peach tree, but I have been looking for a supreme immortal peach tree for many years," the heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage said quietly. Yi Qinghan immediately took out a mature immortal peach tree. It was over 60 meters tall and towered into the air. With the energy provided by the celestial sacred stone, it grew even more luxuriant and dense. Indeed, this is a mutated immortal peach tree. I didn't expect it to be hidden in the Coiling Dragon's secret territory. The heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage narrowed his eyes as he looked at the mutated immortal peach tree and muttered. "The supreme immortal peach tree you are talking about is?" Fanine asked curiously. The heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage reclined in his chair and closed his eyes. He thought for a while and said slowly, "It is an ancient immortal tree. Legend has it that as long as you have it, you will have the chance to break free and enter the immortal realm. Of course, this is just a legend. Back then, the Bailey Grand Sage had interacted with it and had a good relationship with it. But wasn't he still suppressed? I don't think it is as godly as the legends say. However, I really want to talk to it. It's just that it is very wary of humans. Even I, the Holy Lord of the Holy Lands, and that person from the Oshi Holy Grounds have tried to find it, but it avoided us." When Yi Qinghan heard the heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage mention the Bailey Longxian, his eyes flashed. He asked hurriedly, "Master, is the Bailey Grand Sage dead?" The heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage shook his head and said in a low voice, "Who can kill a Grand Sage? Suppressing him is already a miracle. Even I can only suppress an eternal sage, but not kill him. Until now, there has only been one person who has killed an eternal sage. That is the Green Lotus Sword Fairy." Fanine was shocked. He did not expect such a secret to exist in the world. Yi Qinghan already knew. He was excited. It seemed that the heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage knew the location of the Bailey Longxian's physical body. After thinking for a while, he decided to take the risk and asked, "Master, the Holy Lands suppressed so many powerful beings. Where are their bodies?" The heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage looked at Yi Qinghan and said calmly, "The Green Lotus Sword Fairy is different. Normal suppression methods cannot suppress her, so she hid in the heaven-shrouding secret realm and used the filthy water of hell to isolate her soul. She will never be able to rise again. As for the other eternal sages and great sages, their physical bodies were taken away by the Holy Lord himself. I'm afraid only he knows where he hid them." "Oh," Yi Qinghan shook his head in disappointment. It seemed that finding the Bailey Longxian was still a difficult task. The heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage seemed to have seen through Yi Qinghan's thoughts. He reminded him in a low voice, "Little thing, don't cause trouble. If you anger the Holy Lord of the Holy Lands, even I can't protect you." Yi Qinghan smiled and hid his awkwardness and desire. He changed the topic and said, "Master, did you successfully cultivate the elixir? I want to take it back and distribute it." "It's one thing to do." The heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage obviously did not want to monopolize the elixir. He waved his hand and took out 9 elixirs. They shone with golden light and were boundless. Each elixir represented an eternal sage. The value of each elixir was immeasurable. Yi Qinghan happily took the elixir. He wanted to swallow one, but he resisted the urge. These elixirs had already been distributed. "Senior sister, keep your elixir first." Yi Qinghan gave the first elixir. It was from the heavenly sect. No one would fight with Fan Yin for it. Fan Yin accepted the elixir without hesitation. With her talent and strength, and the elixir, the position of an eternal sage was within her reach. You can all leave. Leave this mutated immortal peach tree with me. The heavenly Grandmaster Grand Sage waved his hand. Yi Qinghan and Fan Yin bowed and left. They entered the heavenly sect. The four of them divided the treasures in the yard. You have 30 small ones, she has 30 small ones, you have 30 small ones too. Then, each of you will have a mature mutated immortal peach tree. As for how you distribute it, that's your problem. It has nothing to do with me. Yi Qinghan clapped his hands and distributed the mutated immortal peach trees to the three of them. Many of them were young saplings. Only one mature one could be used. At this moment, Wen Su, the 9 Extremes Taoist and Wanhong holy man heard that Yi Qinghan was distributing the mutated immortal peach trees. They all rushed over. The 3 old men surrounded Yi Qinghan like children. They looked at him and did not speak. However, they did not let Yi Qinghan leave. Yi Qinghan was helpless. He asked, "What do you 3 want? Just say it. Give each of us 20 to 30 small saplings and a mature mutated immortal peach tree. If we place it in the top 3 schools, won't it add to the prestige of the heavenly sect? You are a disciple of the heavenly sect. You won't disagree, right?" Wen Su asked expectantly. The 9 Extremes Taoist and Wanhong holy man also looked at Yi Qinghan expectantly. It was as if they would not give up until they got what they wanted. Yi Qinghan's forehead was full of black lines. Although young saplings weren't worth much, there were very few of them. He had just given away 90 saplings, and there were less than 200 left. These 3 old men actually wanted another 90 saplings. Chapter 2096. Seeing the 3 old men asking for candy like children, Yi Qinghan didn't want to offend the 3 of them, so he gave each of them a mature heterogeneous immortal peach tree and 10 small saplings. This was already considered very good. Wen Su and the others were so happy that they ran back to the back of the mountain to plant the immortal peach trees. After everything was settled, Yi Qinghan looked at Fan Yin and said, "Senior sister, I'll go back to the eternal sacred land of Sword Dao first. In a year, please help me announce to the world that the immortal pill has been completed. Ask the experts of the sacred lands to go to the eternal sacred land of Sword Dao to collect it." The Son of War's eyes lit up when he heard that. He looked at Yi Qinghan expectantly. Yi Qinghan smiled and asked, "Brother War, do you want to take the immortal peach back yourself, or do you want the experts of the War tribe to come and collect it?" The Son of War's cultivation level was still a little low. He didn't want to take the risk. If the immortal pill was stolen, the eternal saints might not be able to get it back. He shook his head and said, "Let the seniors of the War tribe collect it." "Thank you, Brother Yi." Zhang Yingshi looked at Yi Qinghan and couldn't help but sigh. She hadn't found the immortal pill this time. Her fate was almost certain. She wouldn't be able to become an eternal saint again. Yi Qinghan saw this, but there was nothing he could do to help Zhang Yingshi. He couldn't reveal the immortal peach. Even if he did, it should be given to the mad sect first. It wouldn't be her turn. "Let's go. I'll accompany you to the eternal sacred land of Sword Dao. Perhaps we'll have a chance to meet the Grand Sage." Zhang Yingshi squeezed out a smile. In reality, he was still worried about Yi Qinghan's safety. "I won't go with you. Be careful. Xia Jiulong is still in the sea. You should be able to reach the eternal sacred land of Sword Dao by the time you return to the continent," Fan Yin said crisply. The 3 nodded and quickly left. The journey wasn't as dangerous as they'd imagined. Without Xia Jiulong, no one would dare to provoke a legendary expert. Moreover, Zhang Yingshi was with them. After more than a year, Yi Qinghan, the prodigy of combat, and Zhang Yingshi finally arrived at the eternal sacred land of Sword Dao. As soon as they entered the city, the Skyspan school made an announcement. Now that the pills were ready, all sacred lands that had reached an agreement with Yi Qinghan could collect their pills from the eternal sacred land. This news shocked everyone in the world. Some people were happy, while others were worried. Hell, Holy Empire, Battle Clan, Oshi Holy Land, the sacred lands that had reached an agreement with Yi Qinghan were invigorated. They sent a large number of experts to the eternal sacred land to retrieve the immortal pill. At this time, Xia Jiulong had just returned to the Holy Empire. When he heard the news, it was unknown whether he was happy or sad. His face was expressionless and his brows were tightly knitted. He sat on the dragon throne with his head supported by his right hand. He was very tired. He had never suffered a setback before and had been tormented by failure for the past few years. Why can't I kill Yi Qinghan? Xia Jiulong asked hoarsely. Xian Xiu lowered his head and didn't say anything. Even he didn't understand why he had failed this time. He had brought nearly 300 experts with him. But when he returned, there were only 12 of them left. Xia Jiulong raised his head and stared at Xian Xiu. After a moment of silence, he said in a low voice, Xian Xiu, help me find 100 light attribute virgins. Their cultivation can't be lower than the mid-realm. I want to reach the 34th level of the astral art and break through to the upper realm. Xian Xiu was shocked. He hurriedly reminded, Your Highness, there aren't many mid-realm female cultivators to begin with. Moreover, they're light attribute virgins. If you capture so many at once and use their lives to seize the fortunes of heaven and earth, you'll incur the wrath of heaven and man. Xia Jiulong's eyes flashed coldly. What do you mean by the wrath of heaven and man? I only know that the winner is king. If I don't kill Yi Qinghan now, I won't even be able to keep my position as crown prince. Just do it for me. The heavens won't punish you. Xian Xiu's expression changed slightly. In the end, he bowed and retreated. Eternal sacred land, sacred chess peak. Yi Qinghan and Saint Chess Venerate sat opposite each other. Yi Qinghan respectfully handed over 3,000 heavenly sacred stones and said gratefully, Thank you, Saint, for sending people to the small region of the 9 states to support me. These 3,000 heavenly sacred stones are a token of my respect to you. I hope you'll accept them. Heavenly sacred stones were rare and were something that eternal saints desperately needed. Saint Chess Venerate had just become a saint and didn't even have a single heavenly sacred stone. Even he was shocked that Yi Qinghan had given him 3,000 heavenly sacred stones at once. Where did you get so many heavenly sacred stones? How am I supposed to repay you for giving me so many at once? Saint Chess Venerate said in surprise. Yi Qinghan smiled and said respectfully, You don't have to be so courteous with me. You're in urgent need of heavenly sacred stones now. Please accept them. I don't ask for anything in return. Consider it my gratitude for your kindness. Saint Chess Venerate was very gratified. He couldn't be courteous because he really needed heavenly sacred stones. Then I won't be courteous. Saint Chess Venerate accepted the heavenly sacred stones and said with a gratified expression, Little Yi, you didn't disappoint me. You're a person who knows how to repay kindness. Although I asked those 2 to help you, I didn't expect you to repay me. I just wanted to give you a favor. I didn't expect you to give me an even bigger favor. It makes me feel a little ashamed. Yi Qinghan smiled and waved his hand to summon a mutated immortal peach tree. It wasn't the best one, but it was close. This mutated immortal peach tree blossoms for 1,000 years and bears fruit for 1,000 years. You can satisfy your cravings when you're free, Yi Qinghan said. Saint Chess Venerate looked at the immortal peach tree. Although it wasn't of the immortal grade, it was definitely one of the best in the world. Although it was useless to saints, it was enough to whet his appetite. What's more, once he accepted a disciple, the immortal peach tree would be a reward. Consider this immortal peach tree as a gift from this junior to you on behalf of Yen Ao. If you're interested in him, I'll get him to come and take you as his master." Yi Qinghan looked at Saint Ches Venerate and asked with anticipation. Saint Ches Venerate had met Yen Ao before and was very satisfied with him. It was just that he didn't directly say that he wanted to take Yen Ao as his disciple. Saint Ches Venerate took a deep breath and sighed, "I don't have much free time in the next 100 years. Get him to come and see me after 100 years. Yi Qinghan quickly bowed and said, "Then this junior will thank you on behalf of Yen Ao." Saint Ches Venerate shook his head and scolded jokingly, "You little brat, I don't know how to evaluate you. You've been both good and bad." Yi Qinghan smiled. Sometimes, for the sake of survival, so what if he was a bad guy? As long as he had a clear conscience, it was fine. "Senior, the immortal pill has been successfully refined. When the people from the other sacred grounds have arrived, I'll be ready to distribute it. Do you want to preside over it and announce it to the world after it's distributed? This is to prevent anyone from causing trouble and saying that I don't keep my word," Yi Qinghan said. Saint Ches Venerate nodded and said softly, "Go ahead and do what you need to do. When they're all here, this old man will be your witness." Yi Qinghan retreated gratefully. At this moment, Lin Wuqian of the Crazy Manor had already brought Sui Shuguang into the Sword Principle sect. Lin Wuqian's aura and temperament had already undergone a drastic change. He definitely had the aura of an eternal saint when he was young. Every move he made affected the Sword Principle of heaven and earth. The moment he entered the Sword Principle sect, the Sword Principle Eternal Saint opened his eyes and looked at Lin Wuqian at the foot of the mountain. There was a trace of surprise in his eyes. What a pure Sword Principle! He looks very young, the Sword Principle Eternal Saint said softly. Chapter 2097. The Eternal Sword Saint's eyes pierced through the void, secretly observing Lin Wuqian. He was attracted by his talent and strength. Not long after, Yi Qinghan walked down from Sacred Chess Peak. He saw Lin Wuqian and quickly walked over. When Lin Wuqian saw Yi Qinghan, he was overjoyed. He stepped forward and said respectfully, "Master." Sui Shuguang also walked over with a smile. He bowed and said, "Greetings, Sect Master Yi." Yi Qinghan nodded. Looking at their cultivation, he saw that they had improved a lot, especially Lin Wuqian's combat strength. If he didn't use the sacred finger, he might not be able to defeat him. However, Green Lotus Sword Saint had spent all his efforts to cultivate him, so he would not be weak. Moreover, Lin Wuqian's talent and will were definitely first class. "Well, Shuguang, I will give you your share of the elixir," Yi Qinghan said lightly. Sui Shuguang smiled and bowed. "Sect Master, now that I have joined the Kuang sect, you can give this elixir to those who need it. I don't need it for the time being." However, Yi Qinghan shook his head and said indifferently, "No need. What's yours is yours. It doesn't matter if you've joined the crazy sect or not. Just accept it with peace of mind. If you need the elixir, I have my ways." Although Yi Qinghan would give the elixir to Sui Shuguang, his evaluation of him would be much higher. The people of the Kuang sect relied on their fearless sacrifice for the people of the sect. If they could give out the elixir, what else could they not do? Just as Yi Qinghan, Lin Wuqian, and Sui Shuguang greeted each other, the Eternal Sword Saint was overlooking from afar. So they are also from the Kuang sect. There are many geniuses in this sect. The Eternal Sword Saint looked at the three silently. Although he admired Lin Wuqian's talent, he did not directly compete with the Kuang sect. After all, Lin Wuqian had become a genius, and it was useless to take it. The Eternal Sword Saint slowly withdrew his aura and no longer cared. Jian Shisan arranged accommodation for the three of them and waited for the arrival of the other Holy Lands. The first to arrive was the War Clan. The old War King personally led them to receive the elixir. The people of the Holy Empire had also entered Sword City. Hell was still led by Moz. There were many experts, and they were especially attentive to this matter. Holy Land, Yi Qing Han Wood. Holy Land of Holy Land, War Clan, and Zhua Shuguang, 7 Elixir. Holy Holy Land, Holy Land, Holy Land. Holy Land. Holy Land, Holy Land. And Holy Land. Holy Holy Land. Holy Holy Land. Holy Holy Land was Holy Land. Holy Land. Holy Land, Holy Land, Holy 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 Land. Holy 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 Land. Was. When all the experts had gathered, Yi Qing Han headed to the sacred chess peak and requested the sacred chess venerate to personally witness the distribution of immortal pills. The Cloud Dragon sage from the Holy Empire clenched his fists when he saw Yi Qing Han following the chess supremacy. For the sake of the elixir, he had to endure it. Greetings, fellow cultivators. Under the invitation of Lord Yi Qing Han, I will personally distribute the elixirs to all of you. Once you have obtained them, if you lose them again, it will have nothing to do with Yi Qing Han or me, Chess Master Saint said plainly. Greetings, Chess Saint. Many of the experts bowed. Only the Cloud Dragon sage nodded lightly. Yi Qing Han bowed and presented the 6 immortal pills to Chess Venerate Saint. He said respectfully, the pill from the Sky Reaching School has been given to Senior Sister Fanine of the Sky Reaching School. The other 6 pills are from the Sword Dao Great Eternal Sacred Ground, the Holy Nation, Hell, the Oshi Sacred Ground, the Battle Clan, the Martial Sacred Ground, and Zhua Shuguang. Chess Venerate Saint nodded his head and handed over the pieces one by one. He kept the remaining piece in his Qian Kun sleeve and said plainly, everyone, do you have any objections? Thank you, Lord Yi Qing Han. Thank you, Chess Saint. Moz, the old war monarch, and the others bowed and thanked him. However, the Cloud Dragon sage was not satisfied. He knew that there were 2 more immortal pills left and he would not let them go. Therefore, he stared at Yi Qing Han and said bluntly, Yi Qing Han, I will give you a chance. As long as you hand over the 2 immortal pills in your hands to me, I will erase your crime of stealing the Holy Nation's Supreme Divine Metal and Supreme Divine Liquid. Otherwise, Yi Qing Han raised his eyebrows and asked, otherwise, what will happen? Greed is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. I gave the Holy Nation an immortal pill unconditionally. What else do you want? You want 2 immortal pills? You can ask the great sage behind me if you have the guts to ask. The Cloud Dragon sage was enraged. He pointed at Yi Qing Han and roared, You! Are you threatening me? Yi Qing Han sneered and replied, You can say that. You can take it as a threat. I am no longer the sect master of a small sect that you can bully. I am, after all, the true disciple of the Heavenly Master Great Sage of the Sky Reaching School. Moreover, I have a great sage behind me. Why should I let you bully me without saying anything? Whoosh! Yi Qing Han's body trembled. His aura was like a rainbow as divine light shot out in all directions. The Yin-Yang Bagua Taoist robe emitted a powerful aura as he confronted the Cloud Dragon sage. Not only did the Cloud Dragon sage not threaten Yi Qing Han, but he was also choked to the point that he could not say a word. He could only glare at Yi Qing Han angrily. Yi Qing Han did not give him any face. Since they were already at loggerheads, there was no need to compromise. He simply raised the corner of his mouth and sneered, What? You don't like it? Then come and hit me. The Cloud Dragon sage suddenly felt like sticking his face out for Yi Qing Han to hit. He was extremely angry and clenched his iron fists. The people of the various holy lands watched as Yi Qing Han and the Cloud Dragon sage quarreled. The Cloud Dragon sage could not do anything about it. Instead, he just watched the show and did not participate. Only Yar sage walked forward with a holy weapon in her hand. Her face was red as she bowed to Yi Qing Han and said, I wonder when Sect Master Yi Qinghan will come to my holy land to give the betrothal gifts. As long as the two holy lands are married, it will be a blood oath. My Oshi holy land will never let anyone bully the Kuang sect. Whoosh! Everyone turned to look at your sage. Many people did not understand what she meant. Yi Qinghan slightly cupped his fists and bowed. Saintess your sage, when this matter is over, I will personally bring Wuxian to your holy land to give the betrothal gifts. The betrothal gifts will definitely not disappoint your holy land. Your sage's face was red. He had never seen a saintess take the initiative to marry him in public. Then I will sit and wait for Uncle Yi to give the betrothal gifts. Your sage simply changed the way he addressed Yi Qinghan. This matter was set in stone. The Cloud Dragon sage stared at your sage and Yi Qinghan. It seemed that he already knew about this matter. Yi Qinghan, no matter how many people are behind you, as long as the Holy Master comes out and finds out the truth, you will not be able to escape death. Now, you can slowly be arrogant. The Cloud Dragon sage flicked his sleeves and left, leaving a group of people looking at each other. Chess Venerable Saint shook his head and asked Sword Venerable Lord to invite these people to a banquet before leaving alone. Yi Qinghan did not want to stay any longer. After discussing it with Yar Sage, he bid farewell to the Son of War, bid farewell to the other holy lands, and left together. Chapter 2098. Yi Qinghan and the people from Oshi Sacred Ground left Sword Dao City, crossed countless cities and arrived at Heaven Suppressing City. After arranging their accommodations and leaving Lin Wuqian to take care of them, Yi Qinghan brought Sui Shuguang into the insane sect. Shuguang, you will cultivate in the back mountain. The secret technique has been prepared for you. Try to enter the upper level as soon as possible. Keep your immortal pellets for yourself. Since you have joined the insane sect, we will not take advantage of you. Yi Qinghan said calmly. Thank you, Sect Master. I will not disappoint you. Sui Shuguang's eyes were filled with gratitude. In fact, Yi Qinghan could have erased his contribution and given the immortal pellets to the experts of the insane sect. However, he did not do so and even gave away other high-level techniques. Yi Qinghan patted Sui Shuguang's shoulder and said with a smile, Shuguang, you have given up the sacred ground to join the insane sect. We will not disappoint you. As long as you have the talent, you will be a saint. Thank you, Sect Master. Sui Shuguang said excitedly. Yi Qinghan shook his head and turned to leave, his soft voice echoing in the air. The people of the insane sect will not thank me because one day, I will leave my back to you. Although Sui Shuguang had joined the insane sect, he had not fully immersed himself in the atmosphere. He looked at Yi Qinghan's back and slowly clenched his fists. His eyes were filled with anticipation. He needed a battle to gain the recognition of everyone in the insane sect. Yi Qinghan did not meet the others and directly entered the courtyard. Jian Qinxue was also in the courtyard. When she saw Yi Qinghan, she happily ran towards him. However, Green Lotus Sword Immortal did not give her a good look. Green Lotus Sword Immortal slowly stood up and asked coldly, how is the task I asked you to do? Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. This Green Lotus Sword Immortal was good at everything but his temper. He was too impatient and could only comfort him, the Saint Lord of the Saint Empire will not place the origin of the Green Lotus randomly. Even if I know where it is now, I will not have the chance to take it. We still need to plan. However, this time, I have something good for you and more than one piece of news. Green Lotus Sword Immortal looked down at Yi Qinghan with eyes that resembled two black holes. What news? I found 100-flower fairy in the coiling dragon secret realm. Her name is 100 Miles Incense. She hoped to join forces with you to attack on the Saint Empire but I rejected her. However, she gave me 2 immortal peaches of immortals. According to the Grandmaster said Grand Sage said Grand Sage said Green Lotus, but, she said, she, Master, Grand Sage, said Tree. Fruits at, she said, Q. And Master God Grand Sage, said Tree. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and took out 2 head-sized immortal peaches of immortals. They were red with a hint of white and surrounded by immortal energy. The entire courtyard was changed by the aura of these 2 peaches of immortals. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's eyes flashed. She clenched her fist and said to herself, so it was him. I thought he was captured by the other great sages. Looks like his fortune is stronger. After a while, Green Lotus Sword Immortal asked, she would not give you 2 immortal peaches for no reason. What is her motive? Yi Qinghan shrugged and said, she was able to prove her Tao and become a saint after listening to the discussion between Bailey Longxian and the Supreme Immortal Peach Tree. That's why she treated Bailey Longxian as her father god. She knew that the Saint Lord of the Holy Empire was unable to kill the great sage and had instead suppressed his body and soul. She then asked me to find his body and soul. That's why she gave me 2 immortal peaches and many high-grade saint herbs. Green Lotus Sword Immortal nodded and snorted in response to Yi Qinghan. There is another piece of good news. I found a lot of heavenly spirit holy stones. I will give you some. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and took out 10,000 stones. He generously gave them to Green Lotus Sword Immortal. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's eyes lit up. He waved his hand and took the heavenly spirit holy stones. He said lightly, since I met you, I have finally done something useful. Hearing this, Jian Qinxue immediately grinned. Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He snorted and replied, I did not treat you unfairly. I saved you and gave you a place to live. I also helped you find the whereabouts of the origin. I also helped you get half of the Green Lotus origin. Now, I am giving you 10,000 heavenly spirit holy stones. Why are you so ungrateful? Green Lotus Sword Immortal stared at Yi Qinghan without speaking. His eyes were calm and emotionless. This stare made Yi Qinghan tremble. He shook his head and said, okay. Big sister, you win. I won't say any more. Use the peach of immortality to help me refine some immortal pills. I will go to the Oshi sacred ground and help Wuxian prepare a betrothal gift. When I marry the saintess of the Oshi sacred ground, the people of the Holy Empire will have to think twice before they touch the Kuang Manor. Green Lotus Sword Immortal impatiently waved his hand and scolded, get lost. Every time you come back, you make me unhappy. Next time, don't come back if you can't find the Green Lotus origin. With that, Green Lotus Sword Immortal directly took the peach of immortality and looked at Yi Qinghan with disdain. Husband, be careful. Jian Qinxue looked at Yi Qinghan with admiration and adoration. Yi Qinghan sighed and said, with a wife like this, why should I be afraid of not having a prosperous family? Green Lotus Sword Immortal sneered and said, are you despising me? Yi Qinghan shook his head repeatedly. He did not care about being affectionate with Jian Qinxue and turned to escape from the courtyard. The Kuang Manor was peaceful. The guards were on the periphery and there was basically no defense inside, only a few maids. However, the solitary courtyard was still a forbidden area and no one dared to go there. Yi Qinghan came to the valley behind the mountain, where all the experts of the Kuang Manor were cultivating in seclusion. Yi Qinghan directly found Gu Qingyu. Gu Qingyu saw Yi Qinghan walking towards him and got up to greet him. He asked, what's wrong? Yi Qinghan waved his hand and took out a golden immortal pill that was filled with the profoundness of the Tao. He said, keep this immortal pill first and give it to whoever needs it. During this time, I will leave the east and go to the Oshi sacred ground. I hope they will give the betrothal gift to Wuxian. Gu Qingyu looked at the immortal pill and his eyes lit up. He took it and held it in the palm of his hand. His expression was extremely exaggerated as he beamed with joy. Is this an immortal pill? It can help people advance to the eternal saint realm. Gu Qingyu's coldness was replaced by gentleness. However, he did not lose the imposing manner of an iron-blooded man. Instead, he was more approachable. Ha ha ha, Yi Qinghan laughed heartily and patted Gu Qingyu's shoulder. Then, he lowered his voice and said, "If you don't have enough immortal pills, go to the courtyard and ask for help. We don't lack immortal pills. Keep a low profile and wait for me to come back from the Oshi sacred ground." "Okay," Gu Qingyu said with a smile. Then, Yi Qinghan took out at least 30,000 high-grade sacred herbs, 3 mature immortal peach trees, and more than 50 mature immortal peaches. He gave them all to Gu Qingyu and Yan Ao and asked them to distribute them. "I'm leaving. If you really have something you can't solve, you can ask the chess sage for help," Yi Qinghan said in a serious voice. Yan Ao and Gu Qingyu nodded. Without waiting for Yi Qinghan to leave, they began to plant the immortal peach trees. Chapter 2099. With everything perfectly resolved, Yi Qinghan finally breathed a sigh of relief. Before dawn, he arrived at the inn where Yarsheng and the others were staying. Yarsheng was very sober and was chatting with Lin Wuqian. As soon as he saw Yi Qinghan arrive, he knew that he had to return to the Oshi sacred land to give the betrothal gift. Although he was shy, he was still very excited. There were at least 30 experts in the Oshi sacred land, and they were all very powerful. Not only to protect the immortal pill, but also to protect Yarsheng's safety. Yarsheng and Lin Wuqian came to the hall side by side. Lin Wuqian bowed and said, "Greetings, Master." "Greetings, Sect Master Yi." Yarsheng also bowed and said. Yi Qinghan looked at the talented man and beautiful woman and said with a smile, "There's no need to be so reserved. Let's set off today. We'll be a family in the future." Yi Qinghan not only brought an immortal pill, but also so many heavenly sacred stones. He could marry any woman he wanted. Yarsheng said shyly, "Sect Master Yi, Wuqian, when you arrive at the Oshi sacred land, the cultures of the two places are different. If you are embarrassed, please bear with it. I will help you." Lin Wuqian smiled confidently and said, "I'm going to marry you. No one can make things difficult for you. Some young experts of the Oshi sacred land will definitely challenge you. When the time comes, you have to take it easy. The Oshi sacred land has many experts. After all, it is the alliance of the 4 sacred lands of the West. Don't be defeated and lose face," Yarsheng kindly reminded. Lin Wuqian smiled confidently. With a sword in hand, in the younger generation of this world, except for Yi Qinghan and Xia Jiulong, no one could make him give in. "Let's go and reach the Oshi sacred land as soon as possible." Yi Qinghan felt that he was going crazy. He couldn't wait to split into several golden bodies. One to go to the Oshi sacred land, one to the martial Dao supreme sacred land, one to find the azure lotus origin, and one to find the body of Bailey Longxian. Each of these things cost a lot of time and money. These 4 things would take him at least 1,000 years. Time was life. Yi Qinghan was anxious. The sacred nation's sacred lord would come out of seclusion at any time. And his life. Then, let's go. Sheng saw that the experts of the Oshi sacred land had gathered. The 32 experts, Ye, Sheng, Lin Wuqian, and Yi Qinghan left the heaven-suppressing prefecture city when the sun was about to rise. A group of silhouettes disappeared into the west at lightning speed. "It'll take a long time to get to the Oshi sacred land. We arrived early because we've been hiding in the east. It'll take us 300 to 500 years to get back. We'll pass by the blessed Buddha temple, the Xiaoho sacred land, the battle tribe, hundreds of powerful sects, and 7 noble clans. We'll also have to cross half of the martial Dao sacred land's desolate plains before we reach the endless desert mountains in the west. The Oshi sacred land is about the size of 5 or 6 sacred lands combined. It'll still take a long time to get there. Yarsheng explained as they flew. Yi Qinghan and Lin Wuqian's understanding of the eternal world was just the tip of the iceberg. They could imagine how big the eternal world was, but they never expected it to be this big. More than 30 peak upper-level cultivators needed 300 to 500 years to reach the Oshi sacred land. No wonder the East and West never fought. Otherwise, the sacred nation and the Oshi sacred land would have fought long ago. Actually, we have long been incompatible with the sacred nation. However, there are many sacred lands and powerful sects in between us. If the sacred nation wants to attack us, they will have to go through so many sacred lands and powerful sections. The other sacred lands will never allow it. Oshi is the same. Unless we travel by sea. However, invading such a big sacred land requires countless soldiers. It's almost impossible to rely on ships. Yarsheng continued. No wonder the other sacred grounds would give face to the Holy Empire, but only you Oshi sacred grounds don't. Yi Qinghan laughed. Yarsheng replied confidently, unless the sacred nation's sacred lord breaks through the great saint realm, the entire world will never start a war. However, breaking through the great saint realm only exists in legends. Yi Qinghan remained silent. It was indeed inappropriate for Yarsheng to leave the ending to heaven's will. If the sacred nation's sacred lord couldn't break through the legendary realm, the world would be peaceful. But once he did, would there still be any hope for the Oshi sacred land? Forgetting the war will be dangerous. Yi Qinghan said solemnly. This sentence made Yarsheng speechless. Sometimes it was not forgetting the war, but talking about how useless war was. Without the great saint realm, there was no way to change the war. The group remained silent and focused on flying. They moved the stars and shattered the void. They passed through the heaven-suppressing city and entered the blessed Buddha temple's territory. Unfortunately, the Oshi sacred land, including Yi Qinghan, did not have a good relationship with the blessed Buddha temple. Not to mention using the teleportation array, once the blessed Buddha temple found out about the situation, they might just come and snatch the immortal pills. Hence, this group of people kept a low profile. They disguised themselves as adventurers and mixed in with other adventurer teams. No matter how long it took, it was enough as long as they could leave the blessed Buddha temple's territory alive. In fact, no matter how low profile they were, once they entered the sacred land of others, their whereabouts would be known to the other party. The sacred lands were too far apart from each other. Hence, no matter how strong the Oshi sacred land was, the blessed Buddha temple was not afraid of them. The value of an immortal pill was enough to tempt them. Furthermore, Yi Qinghan was also here. If they brought his head to the sacred empire, they could at least exchange it for many things, maybe even an immortal pill. In the headquarters of the blessed Buddha temple, the blessed Buddha had a fat head and big ears. Although he looked like a Buddha, he did not have the heart of a Buddha. Amitabha, greetings, Lord Buddha. There were hundreds of divine Buddhas in the palace and experts, even the 1,000-hand Buddha was among them. He knelt respectfully before the blessed Buddha. What do the Buddhas think about the experts from the Oshi sacred land bringing along the immortal pills? The blessed Buddha went straight to the point, his deep voice reverberating in the huge hall. The Buddhas didn't know what the blessed Buddha was thinking and didn't dare to casually express their opinions. However, the 1,000-hand Buddha understood the blessed Buddha the most. He directly knelt and said respectfully, Master, the Oshi sacred land is countless miles away from our blessed Buddha temple. There are several sacred lands and hundreds of powerful sects in between. They can't do anything to us, so why don't we take this chance to steal the immortal pills? Since they are in disguise, we can kill them to silence them. When the time comes, we can say that we don't know anything. The Oshi sacred land can only suffer in silence. The blessed Buddha was expressionless. Who didn't want an immortal pill? With another saint in a sacred land, their status would definitely be different. Hence, he also coveted that immortal pill. My lord, they actually have more than one immortal pill. Yi Qinghan has two. Even if he doesn't have them on him, we can capture him alive and secretly trade with Quang Manor. Once we get the immortal pills, we can kill him. The dead tell no tales. This little monk thinks this plan is feasible. A Buddha said respectfully. Chapter 2100. At Blessed Buddha Temple's headquarters, Heavenly Spirit Mountain, a group of higher-ups had decided to be frank, no longer beating around the bush. They directly stated that they wanted to snatch Oshi Sacred Ground's immortal pills and capture Yi Qinghan alive. The Lord of Blessed Buddha was silent for a long time. The slightest mistake in this plan would offend many sacred grounds. The most important one was Sky-Piercing Church. Not only could Sky-Piercing Church be on par with Blessed Buddha Temple, they could even crush them. Moreover, Yi Qinghan had an eternal saint backing him. Although he wasn't sure if he was a great saint, but with Sky-Piercing Church, crushing Blessed Buddha Temple wouldn't be a problem. Moreover, if they failed, would Oshi Sacred Ground sit idly by? The Lord of Blessed Buddha's consideration was the most extensive, his wise eyes emitting Buddhist light. If we fail, Blessed Buddha Temple is finished. If we succeed, Blessed Buddha Temple will have at least 2 more immortal pills, which means 2 eternal saints. The Lord of Blessed Buddha muttered to himself. 2 more trusted eternal saints, such a coveted ending. Inside Blessed Buddha Temple's hall, everyone was silent, waiting for the Lord of Blessed Buddha to make the final decision. This Buddha definitely cannot act. How confident are you in wiping out that group of people without leaving any traces behind? The Lord of Blessed Buddha asked indifferently. Once they acted, Blessed Buddha Temple's cultivation method must not work, otherwise, they would become unreasonable. Thousand-Hand Buddha's eyes flashed coldly, he bowed and said, Master, let's use our trump cards. Once we're done, we'll wipe them out. As for us, we're all willing to sacrifice our lives for you, you can rest assured. Buddha's face was poisonous to the heart. Which one of them wasn't like that? The Lord of Blessed Buddha thought about it and nodded, all right, then we'll use our trump cards. They'll be responsible for killing, you'll be responsible for the aftermath. There can't be a single mistake, otherwise, Blessed Buddha Temple will be in danger. On that day, more than 100 black-robed men walked out of Heavenly Spirit Mountain. They were all upper-level cultivators with terrifying combat strength. Their faces were unfamiliar, they had never been seen before. As soon as they stepped out of the secret realm, they put on black demonic masks, and the aura emanating from their bodies was definitely not Buddhist chi, but an even more sinister poison art. If the demon Lord Fozhen was here, he would definitely be able to tell that it was similar to the 3 great demonic arts of the Sky Demon cult. These people had been trained by the Lord of Blessed Buddha. He had studied the Celestial Devil Lord's cultivation method and created the oddballs, but their strength was definitely not weak. After all, they were the products of the Eternal Saint. Any one of these people was stronger than an ordinary upper plane cultivator. Not even the Blood Strike Guards could compare to them. They were only slightly weaker than Zhang Yingshi. After receiving the order, they moved out quickly. Just half a day after they left, Thousand-Hand Buddha and the 7 high-level immortal Buddhas moved out as well. They formed the second column. Even if 1 or 2 of Yi Qinghan's people managed to escape, they couldn't withstand the siege of 8 experts. At this time, Yi Qinghan and the rest of the 30-plus people had turned into adventurers. Every 30 to 50 days, they would change teams. Occasionally, they would turn into mercenaries. Their disguise was very good, but they were still in other people's territory. Every blade of grass and every tree was under the control of the Blessed Buddha Temple, let alone 30-plus people. Screech! The goshawk flew into the air and disappeared in a flash. It tailed them from afar. At most, it would follow them for 3 to 5 days before other birds took its place. Yi Qinghan's group crossed through many cities, big and small, thinking that they were flawless and no one could see through them. However, the people from Blessed Buddha Temple's headquarters had already grasped their whereabouts and were constantly mobilizing more than 100 men in black. The leader of the men in black looked a little old. His hair was gray and his skin was wrinkled. The hand holding the sword had thick skin and many calluses. It seemed that he had been cultivating swordsmanship for many years. Half a month later, a goshawk swooped down from the sky. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of the men in black. The leader of the men in black stretched out his hand. The goshawk landed on his arm. Its talons were wrapped in a bamboo scroll with a piece of paper hidden inside. The leader took out the paper and flipped it open. His black eyes under the mask flashed as he stared at the small line of words on the paper. Black Wind Stockade, attack. Exterminate all of them. Whoosh! The paper turned into fine powder and scattered with the wind, leaving no trace behind. Head to Black Wind Stockade. The leader's voice was cold and emotionless, like a robot. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. More than 100 experts crossed the city. Using the transportation formation, it only took them 5 days to reach Black Wind Stockade before Yi Qinghan and the rest. The Black Wind stronghold couldn't be considered bandits. They only collected tolls and didn't kill. Strictly speaking, they belonged to the Blessed Buddha Temple. Unfortunately, their fate came to an end when more than 100 black-clothed men arrived. Kill, leave no one alive. The leader said indifferently. Whoosh! The divine sword was unsheathed, killing without spilling blood. How could the small fries resist? They didn't even have a chance to resist before dying. The corpses were quickly moved away, leaving no trace behind. In the middle of the night, they entered Black Wind Stockade and began to reap the lives inside. Blood flowed like a river. The large Black Wind Stockade had nearly 1,000 people, but in one night, all of them died. The corpses were piled up in the mountains. The first team will disguise themselves as normal bandits and set up camp in the valley that they have to pass through. The second and third teams will set up camp in the deep mountains on the left side of the valley. The fourth and fifth teams will hide in the valley on the right side. The seventh and eighth teams will block the exit. The ninth and 10th teams will spread out in all directions of the entrance. Stay a little further away and let them enter the Black Wind stronghold. Each team had 10 people, a total of 111. Everyone quickly took up their positions. The Black Wind Stockade was so quiet that it made one's hair stand on end. The sky was dotted with stars and the moon shone down. The scenery was like a fairyland, very alluring. At this time, Yi Qinghan's group was only half a day's journey from Black Wind Stockade. However, they were hired and had to enter Black Wind Stockade. The Blessed Buddha Temple had long since learned of this. They didn't travel very fast, moving at the normal speed of a mercenary. Hundreds of carriages carried many treasures, rushing day and night. They only stopped to rest when they were tired. The employer was an old man, 2 middle-aged men, and a young girl. Judging from their clothing, they were a family. Their cultivation wasn't weak. Commander Yi, should we rest for a day before entering Black Wind Stockade? The old man kindly reminded. Yi Qinghan looked at the old man and asked calmly. Briefly introduce Black Wind Stockade. I'm not familiar with this place. Black Wind Stockade is the intersection between the Blessed Buddha Temple and the Xiaoho Sacred Land. They only collect tolls and rarely clash with mercenary groups. However, we have a lot of goods. I think it's better to be careful, the old man said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan looked at the sky. They should be able to reach Black Wind Stockade before daybreak. Since Black Wind Stockade had never clashed with mercenary groups before, and they were going to enter during the day, the probability of conflict was low. Even if a conflict did occur, they had more than 30 upper realm cultivators. Once they entered the Xiaoho Sacred Land, the Blessed Buddha Temple would no longer be a threat. The Xiaoho Sacred Land has a good relationship with the Battle Clan. We have a good relationship with the Battle Clan as well. Therefore, let's enter the Xiaohou sacred land as soon as possible. No more rest, let's hurry, Yi Qinghan decided. They rushed to Black Wind Stockade under the cover of the night. When daybreak came, the mountain range of Black Wind Stockade came into view. Chapter 2101. The sky had just brightened, and there were very few pedestrians in the Haifeng stronghold. Birds flew through the air and pounced on the ground, hunting for their favorite food. Yi Qinghan didn't care about the few pedestrians passing by. He escorted the carriage with more than 30 masters and 30-odd coachmen, and they quickly came to a place not far from the Haifeng stronghold. Vigilant, he finally found something wrong. Yi Qinghan waved his hand to stop the carriage. He saw that there were more than 10 powerful masters of the upper plains scattered on both sides of the Haifeng stronghold. They looked a bit like adventurers, but they didn't have much killing intent. He slowly spread out his divine sense and felt that there were some people whose cultivation was vague. He couldn't grasp them at all. Are there many masters in the Haifeng stronghold? Yi Qinghan frowned and asked. The old employer often took this route, so he was very familiar with the Haifeng stronghold. He nodded and said, there are many masters in the Haifeng stronghold. They have accumulated a lot of wealth and resources over the years, so they have many masters of the upper plane. Yi Qinghan touched his nose. He wasn't sure if these people were from the Haifeng stronghold, so he rested on the plains outside the valley for about 2 hours. The number of pedestrians gradually increased. They were all people who often traveled between the two holy lands. Yi Qinghan observed them for a while and found that they didn't have any special expressions. He waved his hand and said, let's go while there are many people. Whoosh! Hiya! The coachman rushed the tamed ferocious beasts quickly to the valley. Yi Qinghan and the others guarded the carriage like an ordinary mercenary group. They had more than 30 masters, which was the best anywhere. They were confident that the Haifeng stronghold couldn't stop them. However, everyone's hands were holding their divine weapons, especially Lin Wuxian. The hilt of his sword was out of the scabbard. His eyes were like swords, looking deep into the valley. Master, something is wrong. Shouldn't the people who are blocking the road be a group of small fries? Why don't these people look like them? Lin Wuxian frowned and looked at the people in the distance. They were dressed very plainly. Although they hid their cultivation, their temperament didn't change. These people's cultivation was definitely not bad. Yi Qinghan was silent for a while before he said in a low voice, everyone, be alert. I also feel that something is wrong. Although his voice was low, more than 30 people heard him. Saint took out the scepter of power. His golden eyes flashed as he followed Lin Wuxian closely. Hum. The flute on Yi Qinghan's waist suddenly vibrated, producing a crisp sound as if it had sensed a murderous intent. At this moment, the entrance to the back was blocked. The experts who had been wandering around all surrounded them and quickly closed in. The tamed ferocious beast felt threatened and quickly rushed forward. In the blink of an eye, it had reached the hinterland. Whoosh! In all directions, at least 80 to 90 black-clothed men appeared. They all wore demonic masks, and cold-killing intent filled the air. The adventurers and merchants who were still in the valley of Black Wind Stronghold were all stunned. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Whoosh! In an instant, the group of black-clothed men didn't attack Yi Qinghan and the others. Instead, they quickly killed the other innocent people. Yi Qinghan's yin and yang Bagua Taoist robe quickly recovered and he held it in his hand. His divine sense covered all directions, and everything within 100 miles was under his control. He found a white-haired old man holding a demonic bow. The aura he exuded was actually stronger than Zhang Yingshi's. Be careful. They are all experts, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. The aura of the white-haired old man holding the demonic bow could be inferred that his strength was definitely comparable to the three deans of sky-reaching cult. Coupled with the support of the demonic bow, his strength was far beyond the three deans. That's the demonic bow of the heavenly demon cult. They are from the heavenly demon cult. Yeah, Saint was shocked. Princess, they aren't from the heavenly demon cult. Their aura isn't the traditional demonic art of the heavenly demon cult. However, that is a genuine heavenly demon bow, an eternal sacred tool. We will escort you out of the encirclement. Once you escape, don't look back. Just run. An old man from the Oshi sacred ground quickly said. 32 people quickly surrounded Ya, Saint, fearing that she would have an accident. Whoosh! 111 black-clothed men all stood out and surrounded Yi Qinghan and the others. Whoosh! Whoosh! Before they could open their mouths and reveal their identities, the other party held a crossbow and shot randomly. More than 30 coachmen were killed, and the rest of the crossbow bolts were shattered. Sirs, this old man is the steward of the Shengguan noble clan in the Xiaohou sacred ground. This old man often passes by this place with the two young masters. The Black Wind stronghold has a very good relationship with us. Is there some misunderstanding? The old man's face was pale. He protected the two middle-aged men and the little girl behind him as he spoke in a low voice. But the group of black-clothed men didn't say a word. Beneath the mask, the gray-haired old man's face didn't show any emotion. He slowly drew his sky demon bow, and the black bolts on the crossbow were aimed at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He clenched his fists and stared at the old man with white hair. He took a defensive stance and said in a low voice, "The two protectors of the heavenly demon cult and I have a good relationship. Are you from the heavenly demon cult? If you are, please open the path. Just tell me what you want." "I want your lives." The gray-haired man's voice was exceptionally cold and hoarse. His deep voice was vast and mighty. He then said, "Kill. Leave no one alive." Whoosh! Boom! The heavenly demon arrow left the bowstring and destroyed everything in its path like a bolt of lightning. It reached Yi Qinghan in the blink of an eye. Boom! Yi Qinghan's veins bulged as he slashed the tip of the heavenly demon arrow. The two terrifying auras instantly shattered all the carriages. Even the treasures in the carriages were turned into powder. What was even more terrifying was that the attack was dozens of times stronger. It directly sent the people of the Oshi Holy Land flying and their formation was completely disrupted. Bam bam bam. Boom boom boom. Yi Qinghan retreated dozens of steps. The footprints under his feet were as deep as a finger. His wrist was shaken and a trace of shock appeared in his eyes. He trembled violently and let out a long roar. The gray-haired old man was also shocked. He didn't expect that the arrow from the heavenly demon bow didn't seriously injure Yi Qinghan and only made him retreat more than 10 steps. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Boom boom boom. 110 black-clothed experts shot out tens of thousands of arrows at the same time, flooding the valley. Many arrows pierced through the mountain rocks and shot into the mountain. Some of the sharp arrows pierced through the experts' armor and slightly scratched their skin, causing waves of miserable screams and angry roars. Extreme poison. There's poison. Don't let the arrows touch you. Yarsheng was shocked and loudly reminded. Whoosh! Whoosh! Another sharp arrow pierced through the employer and killed the girl behind him. She didn't even keep her body. The terrified expression on her face before she died ruined her beautiful temperament. "My son!" A middle-aged man screamed and rushed to catch the girl's broken bones. Unfortunately, there was no hope of saving her. Lin Wutian unsheathed his sword and pierced the clouds. The sword light shot straight into the sky and the sword chi swept across. It directly raised a mountain to the ground and killed its way into the depths. Yi Qinghan held the heavenly demon sword and took a deep breath. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised and killing intent rose. No matter who you are, you will stay here today. Yi Qinghan growled and the aura on his body changed abruptly. The heavenly demon sword in his hand dissipated. He had used the sacred finger of destruction. The airflow in his body surged strangely and affected the momentum of heaven and earth. Chapter 2102. Whoosh. The spiritual chi between heaven and earth surged, forming a huge 5-finger print under the sky. The index finger stretched out and fell from the sky, crushing the space and everything, pressing toward the gray-white man in black. Yi Qinghan had only used 1/10,000th of the power of the finger of destruction. Even so, it had drained all his power in an instant. Boom! Boom! The gray-white man in black's eyes were full of fear and shock. He drew the bow and shot toward the sky, hoping to shatter Yi Qinghan's attack. Whoosh. Boom. The heavenly demon arrow shattered the void, but it did not shatter the finger. The two sides collided, and the airwaves swept thousands of miles, forming a huge halo. Run. The moment Yi Qinghan exploded, Lin Wuxian felt a terrifying power. He couldn't resist it. So, before the finger pressed down, Lin Wuxian took the Yar Holy Dynasty and fled. He moved 300 miles. The more than 30 people from the Oshi sacred ground were only a step too late. They were blown away by the terrible aftermath and coughed up blood. Boom! The heavenly demon arrow shattered. The finger was unstoppable, destroying everything. It directly wiped out the Black Wind Stockade. The team led by the leader of the men in black, a total of 11 people, were all wiped out. Not even their bones were left. Only the heavenly demon bow was smashed into the depths of the ground. But after all, it was an eternal sacred weapon, and there was no damage. The aftermath crushed the first and second teams in the middle, and they did not even have a chance to escape. In the blink of an eye, 31 of the 111 men in black, including the leader, died. The scope of the aftermath was too wide. 2 more teams were seriously injured, and more than half of the men in black were killed. Boom! Yi Qinghan did not stand firm. He panicked and almost fell to the ground. The violent strike in his hand pierced the ground. He held the hilt of the violent strike. His skin was cracked, and all the spiritual chi in his body had been sucked out. The light in his eyes dimmed, and blood flowed from the corners of his mouth and wrists. He had no choice but to use this attack. Otherwise, these 100 or so people would be enough to crush them twice. Rather than waiting until all of his people were dead before using it, it was better to use the ultimate killing move from the beginning. This way, he could preserve his people's strength. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Yi Qinghan gasped for breath. Although his soul was exhausted, he still pulled out a xenogenic immortal peach from his storage ring and swallowed it. Whoosh! A large amount of spiritual energy surged out of his body like waves, crashing against his physical body. The bottleneck of the upper level loosened and he almost reached the upper level. But for some reason, the heaven-imprisoning Tao scripture suppressed the bottleneck and prevented him from breaking through. At this moment, more than 10 people rushed in from the exit. Their divine swords pierced through the void as they closed in on Yi Qinghan. Their sword chi tore through the void, shaking their Taoist robes and causing their black hair to fly in all directions. Yi Qinghan could only watch helplessly as the crowd rushed over. He had no chance to dodge or resist. He could only resign himself to fate. Roar! A green lotus appeared in the sky and a long song filled the air. A divine sword pierced through the clouds and pierced through the clouds. It was even faster than lightning. Green Lotus Sword Song. Lin Wuxian acted as if he didn't care about his life anymore. He didn't care whether he was exposed or not. His sword trembled slightly, and the sword chi formed the shape of a fan. Then, it wrapped around the dozen people who were rushing towards him. Boom! The divine swords in the hands of more than 10 people collided with the sword qi. Surprisingly, they did not break Lin Wuqian's sword qi. Instead, the divine swords in their hands were shattered. Roar! Bang! More than 10 divine swords shattered at the same time. The divine sword in Lin Wuqian's hand also shattered. Their divine swords could not withstand the power of the Green Lotus Sword Song. However, Lin Wuqian's sword managed to block their attack. He waved his hand and took out a wooden sword to block in front of Yi Qinghan. He looked down at the crowd. Whoosh! At this moment, Yar Saint led 10 people to attack from behind. They fought side by side with Lin Wuqian and drew their swords. Whoosh! The scepter of power emitted a monstrous light. Within the light was Yar Saint's territory, which spread for dozens of miles. However, the territory's power was very limited. Moreover, the experts in the territory were stronger than Yar Saint, so she could only suppress 10% of the cultivation of this group of people. I am the Holy Virgin of the Oshi Holy Ground. How dare you? Are you declaring war on the Oshi Holy Ground? Yar Saint rebuked angrily, hoping that this group of people would retreat voluntarily. There were still more than 50 black-robed people who could fight again. However, 3 of the Oshi Holy Ground's people had been hit by the aftermath and lost the ability to fight again. There were still 20 people blocking the group of black-robed people behind them. Yar Saint and Lin Wuqian led 10 people to fight against 30 black-robed people. Although the black-robed people were leaderless, they knew that their goal was to destroy everyone here. Therefore, they were unwilling to leave. At this moment, Yi Qinghan opened his tired eyes and said hoarsely, Wuqian, we can't let this group of people leave alive. We can't let the cultivation method we just used be exposed. The Green Lotus Sword Song could not be exposed. The Saint Destroyer Finger could not be exposed either. Then let's kill them. Lin Wuqian roared and unsheathed his wooden sword. Green light shone in the sky as he charged into the crowd. Whoosh! 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 One person was equivalent to 10 people. When he used the Green Lotus Sword Song, the wooden sword's power doubled. In the blink of an eye, he killed a black-robed person who had no weapon. The people behind them had also begun to fight. Blood stained the sky. It was a battle between the upper-level experts. Experts were constantly falling, including the black-robed people and the experts of the Oshi Holy Ground. Yar Saint urged the holy light to suppress the black-robed people. He did not rush to kill them. Instead, he stood not far in front of Yi Qinghan. Even if someone broke through Yar Saint's attack, he would be blocked for a moment by Yar Saint. Lin Wuqian's 10 experts were at a disadvantage against the 30 black-robed people. Therefore, the people of the Oshi Holy Ground kept falling. After a while, more than half of them were dead or injured. Only 5 people were left. However, Lin Wuqian was extremely powerful. Although the sword in his hand was only a wooden sword, it was an eternal divine tool. Whoosh! The wooden sword pierced the throat of an expert. Not even a drop of blood spilled. The corpse fell deep into the mountains. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes and restored his strength. His divine power was surging. If he did not restore his strength to its peak state, there would be sequelae. Therefore, he did not dare to act rashly. Seeing the experts of the Oshi Holy Ground falling, only one of the 10 experts who had supported Lin Wuqian was left. They were all fighting with their lives on the line. As a result, the death of the upper-level experts was as cheap as cabbages. Mountains and rivers were shattered, mountains were razed to the ground, and more than half of the traces of the holy finger of destruction were erased. Yi Qinghan was not in a hurry. As long as Yar Saint and Lin Wuqian were fine, this group of people had better die. Otherwise, he would personally kill them. This was because he did not trust the people of the Oshi Holy Ground. Once they informed the great saint of the Oshi holy ground, his trip would be in danger. Yi Qinghan had always followed the principle of killing his friends. The holy light swam around the golden body. Yi Qinghan gradually opened his eyes. Terrifying light surged as he looked at the battle in front of him. Only Lin Wuqian was still resisting, and the man from the Oshi holy ground had been surrounded. Ah! That expert from the Oshi holy ground screamed miserably as he fell from the sky. His body had been shattered. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan went berserk. His aura leaked out. He held the berserk blade in his hand and rushed into the crowd. He did not need to defend at all. He raised his blade and slashed. His momentum was unstoppable. With one slash, a divine sword was cut in half. Even the body of the black-robed man was cut in half. Chapter 2103. The Black Wind's stronghold was stained with blood. The masters were wiped out, and the corpses were shattered by the aftermath. The abyss created by the sacred finger was filled, but it sank again. Roar! Whoosh! Lin Wuqian had killed 16 people with his sword alone. His bloody clothes fluttered in the air, and the killing range of the green light sword was far greater than that of the upper plane. 10 people from the Oshi Holy Land killed 6 of the black-robed men and severely injured 3 of them. 5 or 6 of them were killed by Yi Qinghan and Lin Wuqian in the blink of an eye. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand, and the Sky Demon Bow appeared in his hand. The Sky Demon Bow was attracted by Yi Qinghan's aura and did not resist. A faint demonic aura was attached to the golden body, and the pressure was terrifying. At this time, the 20 people from the Oshi Holy Land were fighting with the 20 black-robed men in the rear. They had suffered heavy casualties, and the battle was even more intense. The two sides were evenly matched. At this time, less than half of them were still fighting. 17 of them had died, and 7 of them were sitting cross-legged on the ground to recover from their injuries. The 16 people were still fighting, but they were all covered in blood and more or less injured. Yar Saint was furious. He rushed to the rear with the staff of power in his hand, mobilizing his domain to suppress the black-robed men's strength. At the same time, he suppressed 30% of their strength. Just when the people from the Oshi Holy Land had the upper hand, a powerful black-robed man chose to self-destruct. The Oshi Holy Land and the black-robed men, who were originally seriously injured, were all killed by the aftermath. Even Yar Saint, who was on the periphery, was directly blasted hundreds of miles away. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes at the center of the battlefield. There were less than 10 people who could stand up now. There were only 3 people from the Oshi Holy Land left, and they were all seriously injured. Wu Tian, try to exhaust them all, including the people from the Oshi Holy Land. We can't trust anyone, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Lin Wuqian understood and nodded secretly. He quickly killed the other black-robed men. When the black-robed man saw Yi Qinghan and Lin Wuqian's strength, he knew that this mission had failed. He only wanted to kill all the Oshi Holy Land's people, so he directly rushed towards the 3 severely injured Oshi Holy Land's experts. Yi Qinghan looked at the other black-robed men who were rushing towards the 3 from Oshi Holy Land. Instead of helping them, he went to kill the other black-robed men, causing the 3 experts from Oshi Holy Land to die on the spot. However, the 2 black-clothed experts who had blocked Lin Wuqian's attack were killed on the spot. Even their souls didn't manage to escape. There didn't seem to be any wounds on their bodies, but they still fell to the ground. The 3 black-clothed men who had blocked Yi Qinghan's path were not in a good state either. They had forcibly resisted Yi Qinghan's most powerful strike without using any technique. They had almost been annihilated by his strike, and had been sent flying backward. Just then, Yar Sheng and Lin Wuqian, who had rushed over, had casually attacked and killed them all. In the blink of an eye, 5 experts had been eliminated. There were 5 black-clothed men left, but Yi Qinghan's group only had 3 people left. Whoosh! Lin Wuqian's sword seized the air, and his aura was like a rainbow. The huge divine sword formed by the sword energy was impossible to resist. It directly defeated the joint force of the 5 black-clothed men, and the expert in front of him was directly destroyed. Boom! Yi Qinghan's blade struck the black-clothed man who had been sent flying backward and smashed him directly into the ground. The man didn't even have a chance to say a word. His face was ferocious, and his body was distorted. The vitality in his body had been shattered. Yarsheng focused on dealing with a black-clothed man who was in a sorry state and quickly killed another. In the blink of an eye, there were only 2 black-clothed men left. Whoosh! The 2 black-clothed men quickly fled in 2 different directions, no longer lingering in the battle. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and took out a demonic bow. He condensed his divine power and formed a demonic arrow. He aimed at the back of one of the experts, and the bowstring tore through the void. Whoosh! Ka ka ka! The demonic arrow pierced through the void and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Then, the space collapsed, and a bloody mist exploded in the distant sky. On the other side, Lin Wuqian was one with his sword. He cut through the clouds, and his speed was 2 or 3 times faster than the other black-clothed man. His divine sword tore through the man's golden body. Whoosh! Lin Wuqian returned. His face was normal, and his breathing was calm. But his body was still bleeding. Clearly, the blood on his body wasn't just the enemy's. Much of it was his own. Yi Qinghan took out a dozen xenogenic immortal peaches and a few thousand high-tier sacred medicines. He tossed them to Lin Wuqian and coldly said, "If you're not badly injured, use the high-tier sacred medicines. If you're badly injured, use the xenogenic immortal peaches. Heal up and leave quickly. I want to destroy all traces of what happened here." Lin Wuqian took the immortal peaches and high-tier sacred medicines. He quickly swallowed a sacred medicine, and a moment later, he was as good as new. He took Yarsheng and retreated 300 miles. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and put away the sky demon Bao and berserk Sheng. He crossed his hands and mobilized his divine power. Scales began to grow on his skin. Roar! Yi Qinghan roared to the sky. He used the dragonization style, and his body turned into a dragon. It soared into the sky and circled continuously. The 9 revolutions of the heavenly dragon style was an emperor-level secret art. But in Yi Qinghan's hands, it could unleash the power to destroy an upper-level cultivator. Roar! The head of the heavenly dragon swooped down from the sky and rushed down from the top of the vortex. The power of the sky and the earth collided and gathered in the middle. The fierce collision shattered the void, and the shockwaves swept out for nearly 1,000 miles. The Black Wind stronghold was completely wiped out. As for the corpses, they were all reduced to dust. The aura of the battle above, the green lotus sword Qi, and the aura of the sacred finger were all reduced to dust. Yi Qinghan was still worried that all traces had been wiped out. He waved his hand and took out the sky demon Bao. He shot wildly, and demonic Qi filled the sky. Then, he returned to the Xiahou sacred land. Saint and Lin Wuqian had already entered the Xiahou sacred land. The 3 of them met at the intersection and quickly rushed to the center of the Xiahou sacred land. Not long after the 3 of them left, the 1,000-hand Buddha and 7 powerful Buddhas appeared at the site of the Black Wind stronghold. They looked at the stronghold in front of them. There was no trace left. There were no corpses, no bloodstains. The aura of the sky demon Bao and Yi Qinghan was everywhere. Did they perish together? The 1,000-hand Buddha asked in surprise. Impossible. The aura of the sky demon Bao was very strong. It means that the leader of the foundation, Tai He, is not dead. He is not even seriously injured. But where is he? An immortal Buddha looked at the destructive power around him and was shocked. He felt that this was not a battle between upper-level cultivators. It was as if someone who was about to become a saint had participated. But Yi Qinghan's aura is also very strong. It means that Yi Qinghan has also escaped. The mission has failed, the thousand-hand Buddha said with certainty. Immortal Buddha Taishian, quickly go back and inform my master. We will continue the chase. If we find anything, just follow. Don't act rashly. It is not suitable for us to act. Amitba. There is no time to lose. Everyone, do your job. This mission is not trivial. Do not let your guard down, the leader of the group, Immortal Buddha Taishian, said in a deep voice. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 8 of them separated. Immortal Buddha Taishian rushed back to the blessed Buddha temple while the thousand-hand Buddha led the group to the Xiaohe sacred land. Chapter 2104. The Xiaohe sacred land was located in the Gobi Desert, covered by tropical rainforests. Due to the scarcity of resources, there were few experts and few cities. However, once a city appeared, it would cover tens of thousands of li, forming a huge city. The area was difficult and sparsely populated. As soon as the 3 entered the desert, the air was distorted by the heat waves. The sky stretched as far as the eye could see, and there was no shelter at all. Even so, once they entered the desert, the distorted space concealed their position. An hour later, looking into the distance, he was nowhere to be seen. Thousand-hand Buddha appeared at the periphery of the desert with a few high-level immortal Buddhas. He looked around. The heat waves had swept away their auras, leaving no trace behind. They didn't know how to find them. They only have 2 paths. One is west, heading straight to the hinterland of the Xiaohe sacred land. The other is north, heading straight to the middle west of the battle race, then to the northwest of the martial Dao sage sacred land. However, this is a long detour. Gong Wuxing stared at the 2 paths, unsure of which path Yi Qinghan would choose. They didn't know Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan would never waste a lot of time because of danger. Therefore, they headed west for thousands of li. Yi Qinghan brought the 2 with him. With fewer people, it was easier for them to hide. After what happened at Blessed Buddha Temple, they didn't dare to trust anyone. After all, the immortal Dan was too important. It was enough for the other sacred lands to have ideas. Let's travel at our peak speed and rest for 3 days a month. Yi Qinghan tossed out a few words, then used stellar transposition to shatter space. Lin Wuqian flew on his sword with Yar Sheng in hot pursuit. His speed was actually able to keep up with Yi Qinghan's. His green lotus celestial steps had already reached great success in seizing the heavens. The 3 traveled more than 100,000 li in a day, passing through several cities in a month. They successfully entered the hinterland. Their bodies were covered in mud, their spirits were low, and their souls were weak. The Xiaohe ancient capital is ahead. It's the ancestral land of the Xiaohe clan. Although it's not rich in resources, it's very prosperous. Let's rest for 3 days. Although Yarsheng wasn't tired, he could tell that Lin Wuqian and Yi Qinghan were tired. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. They had traversed several deserts and 3 cities in the past month. Presumably, no one here knew of their identities, so he nodded in agreement. Rest for 3 days after entering the Xiaohe ancient capital. Adjust your condition before continuing, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. As far as the eye could see, there were scattered villages everywhere. The deeper one went, the denser the villages, and the more experts there were. These are all subsidiary villages. Right now, there's only 1 village every few kilometers. Soon, we'll see large villages surrounding the entire Xiaohe ancient capital. There are countless of them. Yarsheng was very familiar with this place. He had walked this path countless times. Yi Qinghan did not even bother to look for treasures as he hurried along. He asked curiously, is there anything special about this place? Puzzled, Yar asked, what's so special about it? It's a rather mysterious place where you can search for treasures and explore, Yi Qinghan said. Yar Sheng shrugged and replied, the most mysterious place is the place where Saint Xiahou obtained his opportunity. It's a small mystic realm, but I've been there before. There's nothing special about it. Everyone wants to obtain the opportunity of a saint and thinks that they're special. So, one after another, countless experts spend hundreds of thousands to explore the mystic realm every 10 years. The Xiahou clan had made a fortune from collecting entrance tickets. They collected a few 100 million yuan every 10 years. 80% was handed over, and the remaining 20% was given to the Xiahou clan. They never lacked resources. Yi Qinghan rubbed his nose and did not say much. If it was really the place where Saint Xiahou obtained his opportunity, there must be something extraordinary about it. Therefore, he wanted to enter and give it a try. Whoosh, the three of them sped up. After half an hour, they arrived outside the Xiahou ancient capital. The city walls towered into the clouds, majestic and vast. They had experienced countless years of history, and the traces of history had been carved by wind and frost. The pressure of a saint slowly spread out. After all, this was the birthplace of a saint. It was blessed by heaven, earth, and people. This city was almost comparable to a saint. As long as a saint did not fall, the city would not die. The three of them disguised themselves in a small mountain outside the city. Yi Qinghan disguised himself as a bearded man. Lin Wuxian did not change much, but he looked more mature. Yar Sheng restrained a golden light in her eyes and dyed her hair black. She looked somewhat similar to an Eastern woman. The three of them looked at each other and smiled. After disguising themselves, no one would be able to discover their identities as long as they did not pay special attention. Let's enter the city and rest for a few days. Let's see if we can enter the mystic realm in advance. Yi Qinghan said faintly, my identity is Qin Fenghua from Fire Beacon City. Wu Tian is Qin Xianluo. Miss Yar Sheng, you can pretend to be Qin Xuanluo's wife. With a reasonable identity, it will be easier to hide your identity. Yar Sheng and Lin Wuqian chose to obey unconditionally. They followed Yi Qinghan into the city. Yar Sheng was very familiar with the place. He acted as the host and explained the ruins and history of the Xiahou ancient capital to Yi Qinghan and Lin Wuqian. The three of them browsed around for a day and finally found an inn near the mountain and water. After washing up, the three of them went downstairs again and sat down by a window near the lake. Why are there so many people here recently? Yar Sheng asked curiously. Is the mystic realm about to open again? Yi Qinghan and Lin Wuqian naturally didn't know, but the people at the nearby tables saw Sage Yar's fair and handsome face and immediately chimed in, looks like the three of you came from afar. Recently, the ancient capital isn't just about to open a small secret realm. I heard that the second-in-command of the Xiahou family is coming to the Xiahou ancient capital to preach. As long as you're in the ancient capital, you can go and listen. This is a great opportunity. The second-in-command of the Xiahou sacred land was second only to the eternal saint. Yar Sheng's eyes narrowed and he hurriedly transmitted, the second-in-command of the Xiahou sacred land, Xiahou He, is a low-key old man. He's a bit like the chess sage. He's spent countless years comprehending the Tao and rarely appears in public. He's only made a move twice, and each time, it was earth-shattering. Even the eternal saint was alerted. Yi Qinghan was shocked. Someone like that was taking the initiative to preach the Tao. Fellow Taoist, when will old Master Xiahou of the Xiahou sacred land be here? When will the mystic realm open? Yi Qinghan couldn't help but ask with a smile when he saw a young man at the next table drink until his face was red. It seemed like he wanted to curry favor with Yar Sheng. The red-faced young man laughed heartily and said, I don't know when old Master Xiahou will be here. After all, it depends on his mood. However, the mystic realm will open in a few days. It seems like he's waiting for someone. Otherwise, it would have opened long ago. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly and took a sip of wine. He didn't say anything else. However, the young man kept staring at Yarsheng. He drooled and asked, "I am a disciple of the Divine Sword Sect, one of the 3,000 strongest sections. May I know where the three of you are from? Can you give me some face and let me, Li Ziyun, treat the three of you to a drink?" Yi Qinghan shook his head and said indifferently, "There's no need for that. We've only met by chance and are acquaintances. We haven't reached the stage of drinking yet." Yi Qinghan rejected the other party's offer without any trace of politeness. The Divine Sword Sect's disciple's expression immediately changed. He whispered, "You're not even giving face to the Divine Sword Sect. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."